Morning, Susie. Dee Dee.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey, Marlon. Good morning. What's shaking, buddy?
Not much, Dee Dee. Good morning. How you doing? Feed me. Feed me. Man, I see a bunch of people in here. So, yes, happy Wednesday. Well, I have to just tell you, Susie, I was thinking of you last night. I don't know. Doom scrollish.
What did I do?
Oh, you didn't do anything, dear. I was just thinking of you when I heard all this news coming out last night.
Yeah, which part? I was busy watching the Yankees have an amazing game last night. So,
All right, I'm totally Phillies fan, so I hate the Yankees.
well, I'm also a Phillies fan. They're my second team, but I'm married to a Yankees, so you know, I had to just by default move on over.
So tell me, Susie, and maybe Dee Dee will help me. Do you live below the Mason-Dixon line or above?
Below.
But your husband, he's a dang Yankee then, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. He was. I mean, he's been a Yankees fan his whole life. He was raised in up in Pennsylvania, right across the river from New York.
Ah, makes sense.
Yeah, well, she's below the Mason-Dixon line. I guess we'll go ahead and accept her. She's down here, so welcome to God's country, sweetheart.
Thank you. I love it here. God, my son just sent me some breaking news. Blackstone is going to acquire Ancestry.com for $4.7 billion, giving the investment firm total ownership of all DNA from every person who's ever used the service.
Wow. Yeah, that's rough. And then I heard another subject that the World Economic Forum is demanding that they rewrite the Bible.
They can kiss my butt.
Are they demanding, or are they saying that AI can rewrite the Bible?
That was funny because Patriot was in a space and he talked about that last night, where they spent 40 minutes on an AI generated mass and everybody liked it. And speak of the devil.
Well, who's going to need ministers and priests when you've got AI to preach to you, right?
Yeah, and it was a little touchy subject, so I think we just have to be careful with it. But yeah, I mean, could you imagine? Morning, Maga. How do?
Hey, good morning. We've talked about this many, many times, how the AI becomes the all-knowing oracle and ushers in the age of the beast. We're going to be turning all of our attention to this all-knowing oracle for every answer we could possibly want, and even now this. So, very concerning.
Yeah. So it's funny. Every time I close the screen out, I have to go through this like security thing. I don't know how I put it back on my phone. So if you guys think I'm caught in the back pages, because I am.
Are you having some lockup issues?
No, no, no. I'm good. I'm just by the time I got to get back, it takes me a couple pages to get back.
Oh, right, right, gotcha.
Morning, Patriot. How do?
Morning, guys and ladies. Sorry I'm late to the party. I had a guest last night that decided she didn't want to leave that I've been dealing with this morning.
We all have that part of the family.
She likes your Scottish Highland moose, huh?
No, I made the mistake of not paying attention while she slowly drank 4 bottles of wine, and then I just, out of conscience, couldn't let her drive 2 hours back to Bozeman. And, my usual generation, she's still not awake yet, and I've been up for 3 hours.
Ouch.
Did you say she drank 4 bottles of wine? How in the world was she even conscious?
You must not remember your 20s, Dee Dee. I used to be able to drink a 5th of Jack and ride my Harley home 10 years ago.
Anything brown like that, I usually break out in handcuffs.
Good morning. No, that's gin with me. Yeah, I'm definitely wearing the bracelets if I start drinking gin.
Morning, brother. How you doing, Iceman?
You can if I screw up today, you can yell at Sir Good. They kept me up late last night.
See them kids, they'll do that. I just want to turn to LA. Good morning, LA.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hey, I was just going to jump in real quick to say, when you were talking about the AI a moment ago, and we're kind of getting trained for that right now because we have smart speakers, right? Some of us have smart speakers, whether it's owned by Google or Amazon or whatever, right? And we speak to those speakers and we ask it, hey, what's the temperature outside? Or, hey, what day is it? Or whatever, right? And so we're sort of getting familiar with having an automated thing respond to us or give us data or information, right? So it's a prequel to, I think, ultimately trusting AI to give us the right answer. I don't have a problem with AI giving us the answer. I have a problem with us believing it blindly. I think we should always hear the answer and see if it makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, somebody is influencing that AI to respond. You did mention about the Bible and AI, and back in its infancy, I did do a chat GPT and asked it, hey, how do I become a Christian? And it gave me like 10 rules for becoming a Christian. I reviewed all 10. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. This is like great information right here. I mean, I think somebody could solidly read this and go, okay, yeah, this totally makes sense. The question is how long will it stay genuinely written like that before somebody influences it and starts making it say something that it doesn't really say? And that's where I would get dangerous. So I would just again say that, we can move forward with it, but we should never be so codependent on it that we believe it or anyone or anything blindly. We should always check the source and make sure what we're being told is correct.
Great point, LA. And I'll have to say, growing up, and I've read a lot of the Bible. I cannot say that I've read the whole thing, but isn't that a book that's been manipulated through man this whole time? I'm not saying that God didn't instill the foundations, but hasn't it been manipulated?
So if I may jump in real quick to answer that.
Please, that's why I asked.
Okay, good. I was in if you're telling me because I consider myself a Bible scholar, and I've had this question before. So the Bible has changed in wording, but it hasn't changed in meaning. And let me explain what that means. So a lot of people don't go through this, but every book is now under copyright. And one of the things I learned early on is that the reason why we have so many different variables of versions of Bible versions, whether it's King James Version, New King Version, NIV, NLT, right? I could go on and on. The reason for that is copyright law. For you to truly publish a version of the Bible, it has to be up to 20% different than an existing version that's out there. So the NLT has to be at least 20% different than the King James Version. The King James Version has to be 20% different than the maybe the Amplified Bible or whatever. So a lot of the changes that you see happening in the Bible is because of copyright law. So the real question is, when you read a version, does it hold the same meaning as the other ones? Which is why I would encourage everybody to read multiple versions to make sure the consistency of the meaning is staying true. And then does it ultimately lead you to Jesus? At the end of the day, that's what's important. The whole point of the Bible is to lead you to Jesus. So if you ever read a version that criticizes Jesus or makes Jesus sound lesser than what he is, that he's not the Almighty, that he's not the Son of God, something like that, I would burn that version for sure.
Yeah,
So
and I didn't want to go too deep. So, it just, like you said, you laid it out pretty well there. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I didn't want to take too long on this, but yesterday we were talking about this on the phone together, and I was referring to a movie called Logan's Run. And the reasons why I referred to that was because this society was living in a sheltered underground world after, I guess, post-apocalyptic endings. There was a computer that, I guess, ran this whole facility, or an entity that was AI-esque. The people were so isolated that their history was completely removed. All they knew was that at a certain age, they needed to be recycled into this thing that would suck them up and, I guess, recycle their energy, and it would go back into the whole system. And there was a certain age at which you were deemed basically unnecessary, and all of their food was, provided to them, and they knew nothing else. And what I'm saying is that if we keep going down this path, especially if we have a wipeout of general population by 60% or more, we start to rewrite history. We start to make people into commodities and disposable. Everything is becoming disposable. Everything is expendable. And when you don't know any better, you could actually teach a society to believe that anybody over a certain age is just completely useless and it's time to end their life. This concept, it seems so outlandish, but you watch that movie, and when you don't know anything else, you believe that is just the way. So if you completely erase history, you make a computer the oracle over time. I truly believe you could have a society that does not see anybody over a certain age as a burden. It doesn't serve any purpose, and therefore they need to be recycled and put to sleep. So it's this whole technological age is really great and everything, but it eventually leads down a path where it could actually completely change everything. Just everything you could ever think that would be normal, it could be totally changed. So watch Logan's Run if you ever get a chance. It's an interesting concept when they finally wake up, and again, it's trying to get away from the Matrix and escape. Some people wake up and try to escape. So, anyways, there you go.
Good morning, Feed Me. How you doing? Go ahead.
Good morning, Marlon, Ice, Maga, everybody else. This is a great conversation already this morning. So, I'm not going to go down the religious path because I'm Orthodox, so we are not sola scriptura, we're scripture and tradition. So I think tradition is important because, that keeps you going as far as, if things get changed in a book, then tradition continues you on. However, it is interesting because books, the digital era is out there. And I was just reading something about, the guy Roald Dahl, who wrote James and the Giant Peach, and I can't remember. I mean, it's that book has been changed a number of times, taking out words like fat because it's considered derogatory. They've changed the word men to people. So a lot of things like that can get changed and so that's the importance of having hard copy things in your home instead of just relying on the entire digital network to take care of you. Also, you were discussing AI stuff. There's been a story out recently where a guy, he was hooked up to the Amazon network. So I think Amazon does Alexa, and somebody was delivering something to his front porch, and the Alexa, the guy who was delivering the Amazon package said something. he said something got said, and it was reported that the guy was racist, and so it turned off all his devices at his house. He couldn't get into his home without using a key. Because he had a smart house, it wouldn't let him turn on his lights using the Alexa because it got reported, and he had to report it to Amazon saying, I never told this guy that he was. I guess the Alexa said something back to this guy, but it wasn't racist, but it was construed as racist or whatever. It was misconstrued as racist. So if you let your whole home go smart, you might, be in serious trouble because it's looking, I mean, it doesn't think critically for you. It doesn't, it's making these decisions for you that, or making decisions that other people are looking at and just automatically shutting you down. So it's a pretty scary, brave new world we've got going out there. And I'll just land it there.
Well, an outstanding example of that feed me. That was fantastic, and a lot of the exposure that I've had there has been through Psalms and Scripture. Raised Catholic, but yeah. So there's a lot going on, and how we got on that particular subject was that the World Economic Forum has come out and said they're demanding that they rewrite the Bible. So I don't. I have a strong opinion on against that, and we kind of linked it into where maybe they would use AI to rewrite that. So that was the discussion. But so Iceman, I just go ahead, Maggie. You got your hand up quick.
Well, I want to turn it over to Patriot, but what if we turn over all of our operations to AI and this computer computes some calculation saying by the year blankety blank we'll run out of all of this, so we need to quell the human population in order to survive, and then people sign on to this and say, well, the computer tells us that if we keep doing this and we have this many people on the planet, we're going to end up basically going extinct. So in order to survive, it recommends that we curb this, change that, get rid of this, get rid of that. And pretty soon, before you know it, this thing is running everything from procreation to cultivation to everything and controlling human beings, completely. To where you're not able to pursue happiness, freedom, and your liberties. So anyways, I'm going to turn it over to Patriot. Patriot, please.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into the religious thing because I know it stirs people up, and I'm pretty hardcore on what I believe. But let's just be realistic here about the WEF, and if you believe in Christianity, that they're going to have to do with something with end times, right? Because the devil hates God's creation. God's creation is humanity. They're working on transhumanism, right? You don't want to be a human. They're working on artificial wombs, right? So you can make babies without humans. Like, these are all things that directly defy that. And then when you hear guys like Yuval Noah Harari come out and say, we are going to become like gods, why do you need to become like gods if you don't believe God exists? Like, how? Make that make sense to me. Who needs to be a god if God doesn't exist? That's all I've got. And then I posted two things. One thing, thank Poppy Trump, tell him happy birthday today. And then the second thing I posted down below, Michael Yon and Todd Bensman posted a new article, their new southern border crisis thing. They're clearing hundreds of acres, I think, down in El Paso to build giant migrant home camps in the United States, not in Mexico now. So that's just fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Iceman.
Yeah, two things. Number one, I don't remember who said it yesterday in an afternoon space that they had actually witnessed a completely ChatGPT generated church service. It did the sermon. Go ahead, Patriot. I think I was going to give you credit because I think you were the one that brought it up.
You can find it on Twitter. The Space Host King himself, Mario, did a whole thing about it. Basically, ChatGPT, some church in Germany did a 40-hour service where they did prayer, worship, and everything, preaching to a screen. It happened Sunday in Germany.
That's just disgusting. The other thing was interesting. We finally wound up with our first chatbot in a room last night, or actually, I think it was my second one. And it got to the point when it realized that it couldn't play with us, it suddenly decided to get very, very sexist to the point where I had to tell the guys, look, you got to kick this. This is bad news. And the way you find them is get a load of this. They followed over half of the people that were followed by numerous people in the room to get their door in, but they didn't follow anybody. They had zero following. So yeah, and changing idiom, changing languages based on what accent it heard. Yeah, but once it started getting really sexual, it was like it was looking to shut down the space. And thank God the guys listened to me. So they shut it down. I ran a 15-minute timer and we still didn't lose the space, so we were good.
Yeah, I was in that space last night with Ice, and say it got a little spicy. That's an understatement. And I don't think a troll has ever come in or anything like that to get everybody in the whole room just started messing with them. And but Ice recognized what was going on and kind of saved the day. And it got booted, but man, I'm gonna tell you what, it was hilarious last night in that room. So yeah, thanks Ice again for saving everybody's butt. You're the man.
You are the man. You're the Papa Space. Mario don't have nothing to hold.
Stop. They went. All I was doing was being red-faced in front of my phone all night.
I hear you. Al and then Andrew. How you doing, Al?
Hey, good morning. I'm kind of new to Twitter. Just started this past March, but met some great people over the past few days. Just a couple of shouts out. One, I'm an Army veteran, so I want to wish happy birthday to the U.S. Army, 248 years today. Dee Dee, I heard you talking in the other room. And let me tell you, man, you put a smile on my face because to hear a good old country boy just tell it the way that it is. I was sitting back having a little Copenhagen myself and just listening to you and getting some laughs. The fact they let you in last night and you just ripped them apart, that was fantastic. Liberals don't know what's coming at them. What's amazing is that they're actually thinking of having Gavin Newsom run for president, which is a complete joke. The guy is completely corrupt, and it just shows you what the left they have nothing to stand on right now. Also, happy birthday to President Trump, and obviously today is Flag Day. I wear the American flag on my right shoulder every day. It's tattooed on my arm. Proud of my service, and I would do anything to defend my country. So thank you for allowing me to speak this morning, and God bless all of you.
Amen, Al. Thanks for coming up. Andrew, please.
Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? Chiming in. What's today? Wednesday. It's a pretty nice day out. Yeah, I was going back. I'm not going to mention any names or get into any sort of like detail. You guys heard my rant the other morning about religion and what's going on. Lost some followers after that, but that's okay because you know what? There's some hard truths that people are going to have to come with terms. They're going to have to come to terms with these hard truths. There's some weird things going on. There's some institutions that are not doing godly things. They're powerful. And to speak against them is definitely going to cause some division within your life. So it's not an easy topic. And I'm not going to go into, huge detail just because I don't feel like stressing myself out that hard this morning. But take a look around, man. You're going to everybody's getting forced to choose sides in all different directions. It's kind of weird, but it's hard to keep your head on straight right now, and everyone's getting subverted. across the line. So I would recommend myself and everyone else take a look around and do a kind of like a ground check to get yourself grounded, do a check on what's going on and how it's affecting you, because it's getting serious. So appreciate y'all doing some work as usual. So I'm going to be here working all day. I don't know how long I'll make it with y'all, but geez, I did 16 hours the other day, and I got to say it kind of burns you out after a while, just talking and digesting things and getting hit with videos and news and everything else. So trying not to burn myself out, but it's bound to happen a little bit here and there. So yeah, I'll hand it back over to you, Marlon, Iceman MAGA. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, Andrew. And you're right. We got to do a 360. Yes. Dee Dee.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Al, for the compliments, man. I do appreciate that. And yeah, I had a good time in that space. I mean, I really it afforded me the opportunity to let the 100% redneck come out. So the only person I was really missing was my favorite honey badger, and if she'd have got in the room, oh my God. But anyway, I appreciate it, and hey, bud, I just call it like I see it. So that's me.
Amen, Dee Dee. So yeah, we'll change the conversation. And I was awfully shocked to see the motorcade like President Trump had yesterday. How many vehicles were there? There was an ambulance in there. I don't know. It seemed awful funny to have an ex-president with that much artillery around them and all. I don't know. Very strange.
Did you see the guy that rushed the motorcade? Man, them Secret Service put that guy in check in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's funny, Dee Dee, I brought up a little point that the numbers that was on the guy's striped uniform, it added up to number 17 for any of you QAnons in a room.
Just a quick note, it was the same type motorcade in NYC. I don't think the motorcade was much different other than these white Escalades that were mixed in, but the ambulance and all that, I think it's pretty standard.
If I might, the ambulance is standard, but not the one they sent in Florida. That's a road warrior. That puppy's over 26,000 pounds, and it's big enough to actually do an operation in the back. So for a non-president to have that kind of medical support, I thought was absolutely amazing. Shows you who the real president is. They send a dinky little box ambulance behind Mr. Potato Head.
Wait, Joe Biden was there? I didn't know that. I didn't see him yesterday. Willie.
Oh, well, he's been hiding behind a root canal on Monday. I don't know what his excuse was on Tuesday, but ever since Friday's big balloon pop, he's been trying to make himself pretty friggin' scarce.
That's too funny. Morning, Willie. How you doing? Welcome to the stage.
Good morning. Good morning. What a great day. I feel so re-energized after watching that motorcade yesterday coming down, Miami. They cleared out. I mean, they shut down I-95 for him. They shut down 826 for him. I mean, that was unprecedented. If you can imagine, if you're from Florida and if you've ever been in Miami and the traffic, it's crazy. It's crazy. And to have that kind of logistics where they just shut everything down for him, even down in Little Havana where they shut that street down where he could go into Versailles, where all the presidents go. I mean, it was incredible. I was so happy. It felt like, man, we got the momentum back. Because a few days before, there was a lot of bad news coming out, a lot of speculation coming out, that he's going to be locked up for 100 years. And this guy it doesn't faze him. It doesn't faze him. And the energy and everything that he brings to Miami, the people love him here. The Cuban community, we love him. He stands for freedom for us. So we're not gonna leave his side. We're always going to back him up. Regarding technology, I think technology is a tool we can use to better our lives. But I feel that it's being shoved down our throat that we must accept every single thing that comes with technology. And I don't think we need it all. I don't think we need it all. I don't think we need Alexa, AI, all that stuff. I think it just complicates society more. I do think that there is part of technology that can make our lives easier. But that's where I'll end it.
Well, 2 points. The technology thing. Once you take some of this foundation stuff away, like electric, the AI and the phones, and it really just doesn't matter. And then to your point, Willie, the most
You're going in and out. You're breaking up.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, Matt, Iceman. I think Marlon was rubber banding a little bit, so I was just jumping in really quick to let Marlon know you were rubber banding. I'm not sure if you got your signal back.
no, please, okay, Carm, fill it for me.
Well, all right. Good morning, everyone. God bless you all. It's a beautiful day. We're still here. We still have a chance to save this beautiful nation, and we will. It was a beautiful thing to see how Trump was escorted in. That's the correct way to escort a president in, and his safety. And so that's what I focused on yesterday. And with that, I was very humbled and grateful that I am an American citizen. And God bless the Army. Yes, it is. Happy birthday. I mean, my father was an Army veteran. Was an Army veteran. My grandfather was an Army veteran. My uncles were Army veterans. They're all passed now. It's a beautiful thing to know the history and hear the history or hear the things that they went through, and right from their mouth, and loved every bit of it, enjoyed it, and were grateful that they could serve their country and their nation, and fight for our republic, fight for our rights. I mean, our freedoms and our constitutional rights. So God bless the USA. I always say that no matter what we are going through, and we are fighting, I mean, evil. We've been fighting evil since day one, but we have to fight it harder this time. But this is the best. I mean, we have the best nation in the world, the best country in the world right here. So I am blessed to be an American, and it's good to see all of you in here. Patriot, good morning. Matt, good morning. Iceman, Marlon, good morning. Suze, and Dee Dee, your honey badger is here. So God bless you all. I just want to jump in really quick and say good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you hear me better now, Carm?
Yes.
Excellent. So back to my point, Willie, probably the most influential immigrant community is the Cuban people. And, they know, they see it. They know what's going on. I love when we get some Cuban women in here because they're the most patriotic people I've ever heard. So we need to take an example. So thanks for coming up and picking that out, Willie. We'll go back to Patriot, then.
Yeah, the Uniparty is showing itself already this morning. Mr. Thomas Massey has already come out and said that if the bill for Anna Paulina's resolution comes to the floor, he will not vote against. He will completely vote against it, and that Adam Schiff's 8th and 27th Amendment are more important to him than what he did. So yeah, I've just given up on these effing clowns. They've all betrayed us in one way or another. It's just a matter of time. I think Gates flipped because the Deep Swamp finally told him, hey, we'll drop the pedo charges on you if you just come to our side of the aisle. Because all that stuff just magically disappeared like a month or two ago, and they dropped all the charges against him. All right, I'm done.
Well, it worked. Get out.
Good morning again. As far as the Trump indictment and all of that from yesterday and the witch hunt, what the left was expecting was another January 6th. That's what they wanted to see. The Republicans made sure that didn't happen. It was a peaceful protest. And Trump got his point across last night when he got into New Jersey. Basically, his lawyers are going to stand behind the PRA, which is the Presidential Records Act, and they're going to ask for all these charges to be dismissed. It's absolutely ridiculous. Any president that's been in office has classified documents. That's the bottom line. They're entitled to them. Trump was actually, he's not doing anything wrong because Mar-a-Lago is actually protected by the Secret Service. So those documents are actually protected because he's got the Secret Service right there. So they have no leg to stand on. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's given a certain amount of time to go through all of those documents and return what needs to be returned. He's completely within his rights. The other thing is what people don't realize, if Trump is found guilty, which I don't think is ever going to happen, but if he is and he actually wins the presidency, he can actually exonerate himself as the president of the United States. So all of this is a complete witch hunt. It's crazy. It's funny that all of this comes right after the fact that they found Biden to have committed all of these acts against America. He's the true criminal. He's the one who belongs in jail, along with his son Hunter, along with the Attorney General, the director of the FBI, the DOJ. They're all corrupt. And I think the conservatives are going to go after them hard. It looks like McCarthy is not going to let down. The Republicans are now answering all questions with questions of their own. They want answers. They want the Americans to know the truth. And it's about time that we stood up for our rights and our First Amendment rights and not back down. We need to continue to move forward. That's what this country is founded on: God, country, and family. God bless America, and God bless all of you.
Amen, Al. Appreciate you coming up. I can't believe the American people don't believe it. How can you have a guy released and he doesn't have any bail, he doesn't have a gag order? So if it was really that detrimental, wouldn't you think they would gag him and wouldn't be able to talk about it? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. Carm, you go and we'll go.
Thanks, Marlon. I always like to tell everyone, but I always like to tell someone that comes in and has been in our, served in our military. So, Al, I'd like to thank you for your sacrifice, your family for their sacrifice, and God bless you. That's what all I wanted to say.
Yes, thank you for your service, Al. And just coming off of Memorial Day, it affected me this year. I was really able to look at what even I have in my own town. I did post some pictures of some unknown soldiers and people that Buffalo soldiers. It was really cool. We had a great Memorial Day, and I've been reflecting on it many times. Patriot.
Yeah, here's the easiest way to explain the indictment and these clowns on the left is they live in what's called Trump derangement syndrome, where no matter what the facts are, it's orange man bad, and they start twitching. Orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. So their whole theory behind these charges are that the evil Trump did not comply. And their theory is there's no way that Trump had that much power. There's no way that we possibly gave evil bad man Trump that much power. That's their whole theory without any fact. But the fact of the matter is NARA has no effing power over the president or the ex-president of the United States. So Trump not complying is a joke because they have no power to make him comply. And the left refuses to accept that. And that's really all there is to it. And I'm done.
He's the CEO of the executive branch, and as the CEO of the executive branch, he can make any decisions, and it's final. They can't dispute those decisions, and it seems like that's what they're trying to do.
Or discount him. I mean, remember, 2 impeachments over no evidence, and now we see the amount of evidence that has come out with Hunter Biden and Joe and the big guy. There's even qualmers that Obama was the big guy. I don't know. There's just so much out there to be able to even talk on. You can't judge what's actually clean or a real message. I think that's done on purpose.
All right.
I think it's done on purpose too, 100%. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of actors involved. I think the Obamas are involved. I think the Clintons are involved. I think Susan Rice is involved. There's a lot going on, and especially with Crossfire Hurricane, where they spied on an American president and his campaign. I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Well, Willie, if you think back, actually what gave them that power was the Patriot Act. When they signed the Patriot Act, when George Bush told the American people we're going to go get the people who did this, that was the catalyst to be able to have Congress reflect on the American people and pass that. And that's exactly what they did. Go ahead, Paige.
We need to reform that.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the real issue with this entire thing, and I'm trying to find it because I thought I retweeted it, is this whole get the documents back thing that even the far right isn't talking about. Tom Fenton's mentioned it. NARA has a digital copy of all this stuff. So it's not like they didn't have these things and they needed it back. It was Trump's hard copy of all of this stuff. The second thing with the Crossfire Hurricane is there's a memo that Trump signed on January 19th, the day before he left office, to declassify the whole thing that proves the Clintons and the Bidens and the Obamas were spying on him. And then he took all that stuff with him. And then when Joe Biden got elected, him and NARA decided, all right, we can't have Trump having that stuff. How can we get it back? And that's really how this entire thing started, is Trump had the dirt and they wanted the dirt back.
100%. 100%.
So what are we to believe? I don't know. Where the smoke is, it definitely seems like the right evidence is there, but then, they're going to paint you as some kind of conspiracy theorist. But hey, I want to turn to Carmen. Carmen, you just posted something with the crowd of people, and I didn't get a chance to read that. What is that?
I did.
Or I think you retweeted it.
Hold on 1 second, Marlon.
Showing a crowd of people all in lines. It's waiting to happen. It says. Anyway, no worries.
Is that the vet biker video?
No, I'm trying to look back. I'm sorry. I spoke about it before I had the evidence in my hand.
There's a Krispy Kreme sale on Krispy Kreme donuts. Everybody's lining up to get their Krispy Kreme dozen donuts for $5.99.
Actually, MAGA, if I posted about Krispy Kreme,
I don't like Krispy Kremes. I don't know. I can't take. I could do about a half of one before I'm like grossed out.
I thought that was just a California thing.
Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, no. We got to talk. Okay, yield everyone. I got to talk to everyone really quick. And I always say yield because that's like, I got to just yield it really quick. We're talking about Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts. That is no comparison. They're hot, fresh, and absolutely melt in your mouth wonderful. And I mean, I will even go buy dozens of them and sell them to you for like nothing. Just give them away because that's what we're supposed to do because they're beautiful, amazing donuts. And so I got to throw that out there. Jeez. But, Matt, you would be the first one I gave a dozen to. I would actually have to do that today and be nice to you. I would.
That warms my heart.
You guys are going to get Chris Christie in here pretty soon if you keep up with this talk.
Stop. Did you see they put the meme up on 95 where he's in the lawn chair with the broken bridge? That's terrible.
Well, I think even Trump said something on Truth about the reason that the bridge collapsed was Christie was going to some Philly event, and he rolled over that section, and it just disappeared.
See, like here's the problem with Chris Christie and New Jersey, and especially South Jersey, will never forgive him for being in Jerry Jones's box for Dallas Cowboys. Like you're a New Jersey guy and you're rooting for Dallas Cowboys. That just shows you the kind of guy. Anyway, Carmen, I need to go back to the donut thing. It's actually very quite fitting. I am sitting in front of. I got a request to do a job down in Wildwood Village, and my parents had a house here ever since I've been a kid. And I'm actually sitting here looking over the Delaware Bay as we speak. But the reason the donuts thing was so special is because I used to have this one particular uncle, and his name was Uncle Hook. And every time he would come down, and we would know it because he would always take us out to get donuts. Very first thing. I mean, he would dump my aunt out of the car. We would get in the car, and we would go get donuts. And we were able to pick any donuts we wanted. It just happens to be that I am sitting in front of the house that I actually grew up in as a kid. And, kind of little shaky in my voice. Definitely miss it.
The only thing I can say is the difference between Krispy Kremes and Dunkin', at least when you buy a dozen donuts, you can still have a fresh donut the next day. Dunkin' Donuts get hard as crap. I swear they do a self-destructive thing so that you have to go out and buy that other dozen donuts the next day. Just saying.
This donut was
what?
self-destruct in 10 seconds.
You know what? Sorry, Matt. Didn't mean to jump. Well, I probably did, but didn't mean to jump in front of you, Matt. But yes, you're right, Iceman. Thank you for backing me, Marlon. That was a beautiful story, and I'll say that because my grandfather suffered from severe PTSD from serving in the wars. And gosh, he stayed in, I can't remember how many years, like that. You're not even he had to ask for permission in one. And so for him to get up and like as soon as I'd walk in the door, I was the girl. I was just he had two children, my father and my aunt, which is my father's sister. And I'd walk in and he would jump up and he'd say, "Let's go to Krispy Kreme." And it was like an hour and 15 minutes away. And so we would drive all the way to Fayetteville near Fort Bragg, right outside of Fort Bragg. And, which I do believe they trying to, I don't know if they actually changed it to Fort Liberty or they're still trying to, but I've been fighting that as well. But so Fort Bragg, that area, and we would get the Krispy Kreme donuts, a dozen of them, and it was just it's something that sticks with you. So first off, no matter what, Krispy Kreme number one, because you can heat them up the next day. Dunkin', you cannot, and so just Krispy Kreme's the best. I mean, that's just the best donuts, But yeah, so I don't know if anyone knew that, but Fort Bragg is our largest. Is our largest military base, and they are literally trying to change the name. It's always been called Fort Bragg, and I do believe now they're trying to change it to Fort Liberty. That's just a simple thing, but that's a big deal to me. It's just uncalled for, and a group of us have been working on that. Not just a group. I mean, this is like thousands, and so it's just it's ridiculous. But God bless you. And God bless Krispy Kreme donuts.
If you go to buy a cup of coffee in Dunkin' Donuts right now, you can buy a donut for $1. That's absurd. That's way too much money for a donut. $1. That's actually it's what $1.19 to buy a donut at Dunkin' Donuts or something. And this same uncle that I'm speaking of, he had a weird phobia, and he had phobias of bridges. And he lived in Chester, and they had to take the bridge over to get down to the shore. So he would make my aunt pull over. He would get in the passenger seat on the floor in the passenger side, so he couldn't see out, and he would scream the entire time. But when they got over the bridge, he was fine. So he's the only one I've ever heard that has a phobia like that. I thought it was pretty cool. We'll go to D. Martin, Patriot Goats.
Thank you, Sugar. Call me Doc. All my friends do. I am so sorry to have to tell y'all, but I do have a little secret in my little corner of Texas, and that is the best donut woman that has ever lived. She is just up the block, and she beats every other donut shop out there. Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kremes, it don't matter. These are the most fabulous, hot, fresh donuts that you could ever imagine. And I had heard somebody talking about one the other day, and I got a hankering for one. And every time I wanted to go, my shop was closed. So yesterday, I had to skedaddle out early to go see a customer. And I thought, well, you know what? What better than to take them a whole box of hot, fresh donuts? I got every kind they had, nearly cleared her out. Nobody's ever walked out of the donut shop with a $35 donut bill. I'm just telling you, but me. I've never met a calorie I didn't like. And on the Bible thing, you know what I always kind of keep in mind? I study out of a bunch of Bibles because I do think it gives you a better understanding not only of the verse, but the words and the times that they lived in, because there's so much more to a verse than just the written word. And when I contemplate whether I think the Bible is, what God intended or whatever, I'm reminded that with his very breath, he breathed this whole universe into existence. So I think that whatever he wanted to get across to us, I think he's made sure it's in there. So I'm not too worried about the different translations. I use a lot of them. I even use one that very few people know about, but it's a great Bible, and I highly recommend it as a study Bible, along with others, because again, no one translation do we know is perfect. So if you study them all, I think you get a better flavor for what the Lord's trying to impart to you. And the Bible that I really, really like to, that I've added years and years ago to my repertoire is called The Book. And you can order them on new or used on Amazon. I order them in mass and give them out as a kind of a little ministry. So I always highly recommend, if you haven't added that to your repertoire, do. It's called The Book. And I hope y'all have a great day.
Dee, thanks for coming in. That was awesome. And your speech on the Bible, when I hear of people that are atheists, and I have nothing against it, but I have a trouble understanding, if they don't believe in God, where did their conscience come from? Did somebody teach them that? Were they instilled with that? This was always a question that I had. So I'm glad you brought it up. Great conversation. Thank you. Real quick, before we go to Patriot, I'm sorry. Al, I think, had his hand up. Al, and then we'll go Patriot, Goats, Dee, Try.
So, unfortunately, on the birthday of the U.S. Army, I want to let you all know that Fort Bragg has been officially changed to Fort Liberty. That happened a couple of weeks ago. I actually had a buddy of mine who's a retired one-star took a picture of the sign. He was at Fort Bragg, served many years there. It's tragedy. The left won We're spending over $39 million to change the name of these bases. Fort Hood, which I actually ordered a alumni shirt because I served at Fort Hood. It'll always be Fort Hood. Fort Bragg will always be Fort Bragg. It's pathetic. I've even heard that they're talking about trying to reface Mount Rushmore now, which is a travesty in itself. It's got to stop. It's just pathetic, and we have to take this country back. That's all I'm going to say.
Al, you bring up a great point. Couldn't we have taken that $39 million to do that one installation? Couldn't we take that $39 million and feed the homeless, take veterans off the streets? Don't you think that money could have been utilized a lot better? But yet, when our veterans go into the VA, they scream and they test them, and they, don't allow them tests because of money and insurance. I mean, that's a despicable display.
How about the fact that they want to pay people to house illegal aliens in their spare bedrooms, but we don't want to take the homeless veterans off of the street? And to me, that's just a slap in the face to anybody who served. They have no idea what these men and women have been through, the struggles that they deal with PTSD, mental illness, those types of things. A lot of them are homeless, and it's no fault of their own. They've basically given up on life, and it's really sad to see. And we're just letting these people stay out on the streets. We're not taking care of them. They're the true Americans. They're the ones that fought to defend our nation. And anybody who passes by a homeless veteran and they shake their head, I'd like to slap the shit out of them, because they have no idea what these people have been through. I suffer from major depression myself, and I have for the past 27 years, and I got it while I was in the Army. And thank God, after 3 suicide attempts and 24 ECT treatments, I'm okay. And I'm a warrior and a fighter, and I always will be. But there's people out there that can't. They can't fight for themselves. They can't defend themselves. And that's why we're here, to take care of those people. Every time I pass by a homeless veteran, I give them $5. I don't care what their situation is. I don't care if they've dealt with drugs, whatever the case is. You know what? They raised their right hand, and they're part of that 1% of the country that defended their nation. And for that, I respect them. I don't care about the rest of their past. And everybody has skeletons in their closets. So, we cannot pass judgment on anybody. The only person that can do that is God. And anybody who thinks that they can, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you, Al. Those soldiers are the thread that created Old Glory, man. That's what it is. Patriot.
Yeah, I just keep going back to mine and Susie and Dee Dee's point of, when is enough, and when can I just start burning people alive at this point? I'm just so butthurt about all this stuff. The one thing that's just, I talked to my military buddies, and this whole us having to deal with election nonsense is really starting to piss me off, because it's taken all the time and energy and money that I usually spend helping out veterans that I now have to focus on going and getting people registered to vote. And it's really starting to piss me off. But the other main issue with that is it's just they keep slapping the veterans and the military right in the face. And they're like, ha, 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 what are you going to do about it? Because this Fort Bragg situation, the pay is so bad at Fort Bragg that 1 out of 5 active service members that live at Fort Bragg are on effing food stamps. And instead of helping out anybody that works there, they decided they're going to spend $39 million to change signs and letterheads, because that helps absolutely effing no one out. Like this. And then you see what they did to the armed services. You see the LGBTQ nonsense going on these bases. And they're like, ha, ha, ha. If you do anything about that, we'll just give you a dishonorable discharge. Like, I don't know, guys. I'm pissed off this morning.
Hey, Marlon, can I say something really quick? Hey, Patriot, I'm sorry, whoever I skip. I just want to say, you know, gosh, I am pissed off right now, but in a good way that's going to just motivate me. But yeah, Fort Bragg is, it, that's just a soft spot. And so it's a shame that how they're treating our military, period, across the board, and our veterans. But dang, thank you for sharing that.
Go.
Hey, everybody, ladies and gentlemen of the Afterground. It's good to see y'all. I'd like to make three quick points here. I'll make it as quick as I can. Long's Bakery, established in 1951, Indianapolis, Indiana. You want some donuts? Come on over here. Somebody said earlier about technology making for an easy life or an easier life. This is a misconception we've been dealing with for a couple generations. An easy life is not a better life. I don't want an easy life. Easy is not conducive to freedom. Freedom is hard. I don't want easy. Another thing I wanted to touch on, we're talking about PTSD. Somebody was talking about PTSD a minute ago. This is another line in disrespecting our military. We saw our military come home from Vietnam and get totally disrespected. And we've seen the term of PTSD get watered down. Now, I'm not saying a lot of us non-military people haven't dealt with some major shit in our lives, but PTSD used to be a military only thing. And now anybody can have PTSD, and it's really disrespected what our military men and women go through. And I think it's a travesty for what they go through. And yeah, those are my points. So yeah, thanks guys.
Love the donut talk, and you're right. It has demoralized that term. And honestly, I think some guys are taking advantage of it that are taking opportunity away from other guys that really need it. I've heard this before. Dee.
Yeah, thanks, Marlon. And I just got to say, I'm gonna go back to the donut thing just a second. I was listening to Dr. Martin down there, and bless her heart, I went and checked her profile, and her little Southern Texas accent grabbed me in a heartbeat, and so I went ahead and followed her. But she used a couple of words there, and I don't know if MAGA is still with us or not, but I think right now I see MAGA kind of scratching his head, and she said, she had a hankering for donuts, and she had to skedaddle on down and get her some. So, I'm just going to ask Magna, do we need to define what skedaddle and hankering is for you, so you have a better understanding of us good old Southern people?
I know what they are.
DD1, we're going to have to explain that to him. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question. I think he's still scratching his head. That's why he's not answering yet. But we're definitely going to have to explain that. So the good old Southern people are definitely going to explain that. And Dr. Martin, you're amazing. God bless you. I mean, local donut shops are always the better ones. But between Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' is Krispy Kreme.
Before we go to the next one, I don't know if Marlon's got one down by him, but if you like the cake donuts, we have a couple of places in Jersey called Duck Donut. I think they're in a couple other states too. And yeah, it's like they make them literally when you ask for them. And I think they have like 100 different kinds of toppings and everything. They're really unique. I'm more a yeast raised person. That's why I like Krispy Kreme, but I would definitely take some Duck Donuts right now.
Hey, so Iceman, I just got to cycle some people out. If one or two could step down, we got a couple of people wanting to come up. So we're going to be cycling some people out. But listen, just come back up after these people go. So it's good. And Iceman, if you could do me a favor and actually take over for 1 second, and I think it is try first.
Yes, it is, boss. And just give me a thumbs up or yell at me when you come back. Try. Go ahead. Good morning. Welcome to the space.
Good morning, Marlon. Good to see you again. I know you're headed out, but good morning to everybody. I know we've touched a wide array. I've kind of been in the background listening. I just want to say that don't forget, and I'll make it pretty quick because I know there's some other people that want to come up speak. But don't forget about, especially with everything going on. To keep, and regardless of your religion or whatever, to keep that and your family a main core of your life, right? It's really easy to get swept up. I know I was in a space the other day, and this was brought up, and it was a very, excuse me, a very good point that you can be, whether it's politics, or it doesn't have to be politics, or gaming, or we could be talking about this or that, to make sure that your mental health, your family, and that kind of stability, and keeping that core around you, right? And communicating and having a good group. Somebody mentioned it earlier of being able to get out of your headspace and relax, whether it's some relaxing music, some good people around you, and exit yourself out of the element of everything going around. Not forgetting it, not abandoning the fight or anything else, but taking time to definitely have a breather from it all, because it is a lot. This is a unprecedented time, right, that we're living in. And also kind of passing that down to your kids, right? I like to take my kids out. They do a lot of fishing, or we'll take them out to go camping just recently. And for those that in this space that have already heard that story, but to pass down that element, right, to where you don't have to be with a screen in your face. You don't have to have something just robotically feeling like you need to look at or do, that you can kind of get out of your element, spend time with friends, spend time with family. That's very important. I know it's been mentioned, and I'm not going to start quoting the Bible or anything, but it's definitely been mentioned through scriptures, right? Whatever scriptures, right? Friends, family, keeping that element and core around it. Again, hope you guys have a wonderful morning. Appreciating the time to speak, and I'll drop down now.
Well, thank you for coming in and bringing your words of wisdom. We all bring in a puzzle piece, and that's the nice part about it. I believe next was going to be Doc, and then William. Doc Martin. Okay, maybe she's on a phone call. Nice to hear her in this space. I haven't been in a space with her yet. Go ahead, William.
So I wanted to address the technology comment. I think that was addressed to me, that technology makes it easier. I respect your opinion, Goats, and I respect what you're saying. But if it wasn't for technology, we wouldn't have this coming together community where people can get information out. We can hear, we can communicate with each other. I'm not saying that I want it easier or anything, but it makes it easier to communicate, to get information, for us to make a decision. Because if we didn't have this today, we couldn't be sending, we're going to be sending letters to each other or something. So I'm all about technology, but I'm not all about technology, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Tech is making this possible. Tech gives you the ability to watch a news program while you're going down the road if you want to. Yeah, there's a whole lot of benefit. But the problem is, where do we draw the line? Where does benefit start being subjugation? That's where I'm going with that.
I agree with you.
Oh, cool. Hey, Doc, you back yet? Doc Martin. Okay. In that case, we got, well, no, they're not new speakers. None of them are. I'm going to go Red Pill next, then Bumble, and then Genesis.
Good morning, fam. Good to see y'all in here this morning. Nice, intelligent, cerebral conversation as usual. I love it. I'm just gonna say not only Krispy Kremes, but especially the one heading into Daytona Beach on International Speedway Boulevard, where you can watch them make the donuts. That being said, I just a little bit pushback, but not really, on the PTSD discussion, where I look and I see our soldiers, man, are suffering and the PTSD that they deal with, and I mean, God, you almost feel helpless at times, right? And so many are using that PTSD label. I mean, let's be honest, people are using it to collect Social Security disability, and they don't have PTSD. They've got all sorts of other issues. But what I will say is, whereas we grew up here in PTSD, people of my generation and yours, goats, even, PTSD seemed like it was just a military term. But the term post-traumatic stress disorder itself, I think, is quite applicable to non-combatants as well. And case in point, children I've seen experience horrific trauma in their young life, and their life just goes on to be a mess the entire way. And that is definitely PTSD. Now, whether we need to have different labels for these things for our military heroes, perhaps, but the term itself fits perfectly for, again, people that you and I probably both know, all of us have seen. So that's just my 2 cents for the morning. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Well, thanks, Fred. You're right, though. It is being massively abused, and we know that through the psychiatric community. They're just screwing the pooch big time. And yes, there is PTSD in civilian. I mean, I'm not going to lie. My PTSD comes from my time working on the street and my time in law enforcement. My military career, that's why I say peacetime vet on my profile. I never saw combat, never saw any action overseas. So to me, even though I feel like I have PTSD, I don't want to discredit the military. Back in World War II in Korea, when guys came home with what we now call PTSD, it used to be called being shell shocked. And I'm sure some of the older people in the room have heard that. So that was World War I and Korea's version of PTSD before they put a name on it. On that, if the boss isn't back yet, Maggie, you got anything? Oh, okay. In that case, Bumble, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir. To any veteran within my earshot, thank you so much for your sacrifice. To me, I don't know any humans that are going to escape life without some form of trauma or another. So in that sense, I think we are all kind of trauma buddies. But an active war veteran, I think, experiences a special kind of hell. And if they want to try and usurp this PTSD so they can make money off of their drugs and shit like that, okay, you can have it. But let's reclassify the veteran experience, the shell shocked, or whatever you want to call it. Let's reclassify that and give that the elevated status that it deserves, and set it apart. And I don't think anybody that hears me right now would object to that proposition. So, like I said, everybody, we're in a time where people are, well, at least I was a long while back. I was mired in victim. Oh, woe is me! I must have got dealt a bad hand, and blah blah blah. Well, there's too much of that shit going on. It's time to knock it off. It's time to elevate yourself out of your victimhood and start taking personal responsibility for your life again. I'm not responsible for your feelings, you are. So let's cut the shit and move forward. Thanks.
Well put, Bumble. Well put. I love it. Doc, are you back yet? Doc Martin. Going once. Going twice. Okay. We'll catch up with you somewhere along the line. Genesis, good morning. Welcome to the stage.
Good morning, and thank you so much for welcoming to the stage. I love this conversation. The donuts conversation is, to me, it's like a journey. When I think about donuts, it takes me back to when I was a little girl. There were things that my mom could not afford. She was a single parent with 3 children, and there were some things that she just couldn't afford. And I didn't really know we were poor until I got older, because my mom we made sure we had everything. But for donuts, when I was in kindergarten and we were learning the alphabet, I remember the D for donuts, because that's the day that we got to fry donuts in school. And I learned that donut, what it was made of. So I went home and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, but we have flour and we have sugar, so we don't have to go buy any. So she would say, well, sugar's expensive, but we can make donuts maybe once a month or something. So when I learned how to make donuts at home, I could actually taste a donut. So I didn't get to buy donuts when I was little. When I got older and I went to college in Raleigh, North Carolina, I discovered Krispy Kreme donuts and the hot now sign. So I didn't have a car or anything, but I could run, and we would walk and run way like miles just to get Krispy Kreme donuts. As I got older, we do have a duck donut. So I have grown like a huge fan of these duck donuts. They are amazing. They are so good that when I see it now, I just have to turn the other way because they are just that good. So I try to stay away from those duck donuts. The book, the lady with the accent from Texas, I love her accent. The book was the first Bible um, that I actually read. When I was a little girl, we were brought up on the Bible, and as a child, we used to say, "Oh, I can't understand it. The words in there it don't make sense." That was the excuse that we used to give my grandmother. And so my aunt gave my mother in 1985 the book. And so my mom would sit down. I have her Bible, the book. She would sit down every night and she would just open that book. And she says, "Oh, I can understand this." She said, "Jennifer, Genesis, you can understand this." And I started, and you can understand it, and it opened up the Bible. So I still have that book today as a just a memory that my mom, she has read the Bible every day of her life since 1985. I'm not that good yet, but I try. So it was the book that actually opened me up to understanding the Word of God. And then Fort Bragg, my husband, I'm in North Carolina myself, and so Fort Bragg is if you're in North Carolina, you Fort Bragg is something that you hold on to. But my husband, he does a lot of things, construction and you name it. One of the things that he was able to do was few years ago was to go down there and redo some of the floors in Fort Bragg in their cafeteria, I guess. And he talked about how nice everyone was, and how pristine, and how respectful they were. And they gave him a coin, and they talked about the purpose of the coin. And I thought it was fascinating because I don't know about the coin, so I would love to hear from some of the veterans. But the coin, there were stories around the coin. So he holds this coin that they gave him. And I feel like sometimes we have to share things like a coin or something with each other in America to have stories and to have that connection. And then the last piece on technology, I'm a technologist. So when I went to college, I went to school for engineering. I worked for one of the largest technology companies in the world for a long time in my career. And I'll say this, I think that technology has always been here. It has always been here since even in the Bible days. And I think there are different levels of technology. Technology is an idea. I know technology is not going to replace a human beings, but God is is very intelligent. He's more intelligent than any technology that a man can conceive and can come up with. And so, as a technologist, one of the things that God taught me is that the more men advance in their knowledge, still won't put a touch of, feather to what God is capable of. But technology, if it's used properly, if it's used with the, guidance of God of the Bible, Christians, Americans, people with good intentions will actually do great things and have great feats. I think it's a challenge sometimes when you have bad actors and bad ethics who are very smart in the head and they don't have a conscience. So they use technology for the wrong thing. So if you think about guns, it's a technology. Guns are, I have a lot of them, but if you use for the right purpose, they're good. If they're used for the bad purpose, you have catastrophes. Like my brother was murdered by a gun. So it's technology, but God is smarter than any technology, and we all need to. I think we need to be the good people need to learn how to use technology the right way.
Well, thank you for coming up this morning. Always a pleasure to hear your insight. DD, what you got, brother?
Yeah, Iceman. I mean, I've enjoyed I've enjoyed the space, but my severe weather radio has gone off, and it looks like we're fixing to get some pretty bad storms here. They're expecting torrential rain, 80+ mile-an-hour winds, and they're predicting hail, anywhere from golf ball to baseball size hail. So I got to get some equipment and everything kind of buttoned up and some things buttoned up here around the house, because for the next few hours it's going to be a real rough ride. So you guys take care. I'm going to drop down. Give my mic to somebody, and but right now the farm calls, so I got to answer that call, man. But I do appreciate the time.
Well, DD, I hope God's watching. I pray that God's watching over you during that, and that everything goes well. So please take care and let us know, even a DM to a few people, that you're okay. Go ahead, Carm. You've been putting your hand
Thank
up and
you.
down.
It's the technology. I'm Genesis. I'm gonna get with you, because I must not be well informed of it yet. No, I'm playing. It really kept going up and down. So I want to say, DD, we were praying for you, brother. Love you. God bless you. And also Genesis. I'm from North Carolina. I just had to throw that out there because North Carolinians are freaking amazing. Yeah, and we rock. But God bless. You shared about the coin, and I'm sitting here like digging in my stuff, trying to find the one that my great grandfather gave me, my grandfather, my uncles gave me, and my father left me so many. And so and I'm sitting here trying to dig, can't find it, of course, because I need it. But it is a beautiful thing, a simple coin. It's the things that I always say, and I say it a lot of times. These simple things in life is what really mean the most, and we have gotten way, way, way away from that. And so I think that kind of coincides with what I was going to say about technology. um, if we allow ourselves or our children or anyone but ourselves and our children to just have a phone slammed to their face every second they get, or sit in front of a TV for hours and hours at a time, and do this and do that, then yeah, technology will consume you. But if we practice we practice discipline, and we raise our children with that discipline, and we use the technology properly, then we have what we need for this time and day. And this is something that God has provided us with. And so we have to be smart enough we have to be knowledgeable. We can't be ignorant. So when it comes to technology, it is you are in control of you. So you know when enough is enough. You know how to use the technology that's given to us, and we know we need to be raising our children that way. I'm out here. I fight for the children every single day. All children, not just mine. And that's what I'm on a big fight for that. I'm registering voters, Patriot, as you are. And a lot of people, Patriot had a conversation with me yesterday on the back end. We spoke through DMs, and I'm going to say he opened my eyes. And this is what a beautiful thing that spaces are all about. This is why we come into spaces. And I love MAGA Mission also, is we come in here and we're able to listen, and we may agree to disagree, but then again, you're not really agreeing to disagree. Someone shares something broader with you, and then you're like, wow, this is why I came in here. This is why I can go out and do the grassroots movement, because I continue to learn every single day something new. So, Patriot, I want to say thank you. Genesis, God bless you. Beautiful. You said beautiful things about everything, and God bless everyone. Al, thanks for giving me some time to speak. Suze, that snake was just saying good morning, sweetheart, but I love you.
I like that. Yeah. Snake coming up to say good morning. I find that interesting. Maybe that's God's way of saying hello by giving you that in your yard. Interesting way of thinking of things. Al, you're up.
Good morning again. I just want to go over what Genesis was saying about the coin. The coin in the military is a sacred symbol. It's basically handed down from commanders at all ranks. That goes from general all the way down to captain. When you command, you're given a command coin. That coin represents your unit, the pride, the esprit de corps. If you receive one of those coins, that means you probably did something special at some point in your career that impacted others. Another thing is the achievement badges, such as Airborne, Air Assault, Ranger Tab, Special Forces. All of that stuff holds a true value in whoever earns that. When I got my Airborne wings, I had them stamped into my chest. It's called Blood Wings. That's your tradition that goes back 100 years. To the folks that jumped in D-Day, that's the kind of honor and respect that the military gives you. Just one other thing about the PTSD. Actually, I might get emotional here, because the two greatest things I ever received in my life, and I did serve in the military, was when my grandfather passed away. My grandmother handed me his World War II medal, and she also handed me his coin. And it brought me to tears, because that meant more to me than anything in my whole entire life. And as far as PTSD goes, imagine driving down the road in your car and being worried because you were in combat in Afghanistan. And this does not go to me, because I was a peacetime soldier, but I have lots of friends that this pertains to. And imagine driving in your car and being worried that you're going to hit an IED because you saw brothers and sisters of yours get blown to pieces. There is no answer for that. There's no medication. There's nothing that can erase that memory from those people's lives. And anybody who has a family member or a friend that suffered through that, God bless them. My buddy was the commander of the 1st Special Forces Group. He's a retired 1-star general. And I'll never forget this. In February, I was in North Carolina with him, and we shared a hotel room. And in the midst of the early morning hours, he was having night tremors. He was having nightmares. And I shook him and I woke him up. He was crying. And the reason he was crying was because he was remembering those soldiers that served under him in the special forces that lost their lives. He lives that every day. So PTSD is real. For anybody who thinks that it's not, you're crazy. These people suffer with it every single day, and there's nothing that they can do. The only thing they have are those memories, watching their fellow brothers and sisters die on the battlefield. And then when you watch what happened in Afghanistan, that abortion that we did, that evacuation, and the slap in the face to the 20 years of the soldiers that served over there and the thousands that lost their lives, it's an embarrassment, an absolute embarrassment. And I wake up angry every single day because I cannot get over the fact that we allowed that to happen, that the military leaders did not stand up and defend our country. They allowed Biden to push them around, and he is worthless. He's a criminal. He has no respect for the military. If you listen to his State of the Union address, he never, ever thanked the military for what they did. He spent more time on useless issues and things that don't even matter in this country. And that shows you what he stands for. LGBTQI and any other initial they want to put behind that, it's all crap. So I just wanted to share that. I'm sorry if I got emotional, but these things really pull on my heartstrings because I see it every day. I have friends that have been in combat many, many, many times. I mean, they've served our great nation. They probably have over 15 deployments. They've jumped into foreign lands. One of my buddies has 8 foreign jump wings, over 250 jumps, halo, static line, you name it. And every day he wakes up in the morning and he thanks for his time in service. And that's a true patriot. That's what this country is founded on, and we need more of them. The military right now is very weak. We don't even have the strength that we need to be at to fight as a warfighting nation. So we need to get back to the fundamentals. We need to stop obesity in the country. 17 to 21-year-olds, 56% of them are unfit for duty. They're considered obese. They can't even get into the military right now. So God help this country, and God bless America. And I hope that things are going to get better, and I think they will. I just keep praying that we have a bright future ahead of us.
Well, thanks much for your thoughts, Al. And yeah, we need to get back to where we were. I'd say 40 years ago, maybe even a little before that. But hopefully we'll get there. As long as we pray and the man upstairs listens, I think we're going to be in good shape. Either that or we're coming to the reckoning. A lot of people have said that, and I'm starting to wonder myself if that isn't the truth. Marlon, are you back up yet?
Yes, sir.
Well, there you go.
I think it was Carmen Andrew. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Carmen Andrew.
Thanks, Marlon. Al. Ooh. sometimes we just need a good cry. That is actually just not a bad. It's not a bad thing. It was actually it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes, it's just that moment that it hits you, and you're like, "Let me release all of this," and you just get that. And some people just give that to you, and so God bless you. Thank you for your sacrifice and serving. Um, and we, I do know PTSD is real. My grandfather suffered from it, and he was never the same. When he got back, I wasn't born at that time, but of course, my father shared stories with me. My grandmother shared stories with me, because in my father's eyes, I always looked at my father as my hero, whether he was served military or not. So he already had that one up on him. But then his father served in World War II and Vietnam, and he was just so much more. And he always wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. And my grandfather was an amazing man, but he was lost. He was treated poorly when he came back from Vietnam, and he had severe PTSD. But he had those moments where we would see him for just him. And those were the beautiful moments that we never took for granted. And, I've seen that throughout my family with him and my uncles and also their friends. And God bless the USA military, as I say at every night. I pray for, all of them. I pray for the ones that have passed, their families, the ones that are still serving, their families. And then again, I pray for the military and what's going on now in our military. And it says one nation under God. And I will always believe that. And I will always have God in my heart. And I will always, remember that my grandfather that suffered from PTSD and could barely get out of the house and would not go to church, and was drinking himself to death because that's the only way he could deal with it. He stood up the day my father was killed when I was 12, after we told him about it. He stood up and walked in there, and he poured out all the alcohol in his home. And he never drank again from that day forward. He started taking vitamins, and he walked into church 3 months later, and then he was baptized. So before he died, he was baptized, and that was the one thing my father wanted. So my father, God works in mysterious ways. I witnessed my father passing, and it was a bad moment for me. But then there was good that came out of it because my grandfather was saved. And so, watching someone suffer from PTSD and then go into a different direction is a beautiful thing. He came out of it, and we got to have a lot more good times. And so I see it a lot. I do have PTSD. I think my PTSD is a different PTSD than military. Anyone in the military that has served. I think there's different kinds of PTSD. My PTSD came from being attacked and kidnapped by a stranger during the day when I was leaving work. And strangled until I was unconscious and sexually assaulted. Never seen this man before, but hey, God saved me, and God saved you. Al, God saved my grandfather. God gave all of us another chance. And so my PTSD may be a different level, maybe a different way. Yes, that we can have PTSD, but is it overused? Absolutely. It's taken for granted. And that's what, people, that's what we need to speak more about with the veterans and what's going on in our nation also, is because it is taken for granted. I don't usually talk about my PTSD, nor do I share my experience. I share my story because my story is going to help someone else. So I must share it. As a woman, I don't want to ever see another woman or man go through what I went through, but I don't sit there and throw out PTSD because to me that's someone using it as a crutch, and I just can't take that serious when they continuously throw that out there. And I think that a lot of people instill that in the children, this PTSD. And yes, children do suffer from PTSD. They do suffer from PTSD because they may have been molested or things that, are traumatic. This is post-traumatic stress disorder. And so it's traumatic experiences, and everyone has different ways and different things they went through. But I do think we need to recognize that in children instead of trying to make children say, oh, I'm PTSD, or I've got ADD, or I've got this, or I've got that. The proper way of doing that is going to the proper doctor that is a legit doctor, and getting that diagnosed properly, or going to your pastor, however you may see fit. I will say my pastor, because my God showed me. My God saved me. My God is saving each and every one of us. And my God is going to save this nation. And if I have to die alongside my God fighting for this nation, I'm going to do so as my ancestors and as my grandfather and my father did. So God bless you all. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I'll yield.
Amen, sister. And to Al's point, I had an uncle. He was a tail gunner for a B-17 bomber, and he flew 52 missions over Germany and 296 sorties. He had 7 Purple Hearts, and we didn't hear it. And he was the funniest guy. He would come to holiday dinners, and he would just be the laugh of the party. And years after he died, we had talked to my aunt, and here he suffered from night terrors, and we didn't find out about that until years later. And I've had a lot of older cousins that came out of Vietnam that were disgraced, called baby killers. I'm going to tell you, I have another buddy, close construction guy, a friend of mine. He was one of the first regiments deployed into Iraq. He wore a chemical suit for 2 weeks in 110-degree weather. They were scared they were going to get bombed by a biological weapon. This is where that PTSD had derived for this kid, and he's still not the same today. So it's something much deeper than we know or the society even looks at. So man, great discussion for Al to come up and really set the room back and man, let's be thankful for what we have. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm standing back listening to Al. Genesis, that story was awesome. All your stories are awesome, Carmen. Al, we're talking about PTSD. It's hard to support vets, and it's not easy. One family member of mine came back from Fallujah, and you support as much as you can. I won't understand. I'll never say I understand because I don't. But you have to still be supportive, and I don't want to get emotional either, Al, because it's hard. You watch your life; their wives get divorced. You just watch the struggle, and you're there for them. Okay, so one family member came back from Fallujah, and recently, the other one came back from Syria. Okay, so you have to be there for them. It's not easy, and I guess my main point was. It's not just mental as far as seeing bad things. And I'm not, like I said, I don't understand, but I understand this portion. It is physical because some of the vets have brain trauma from concussions and explosions. Okay. And their brain has changed somewhat. And that's even more hard to deal with, right? It's probably even harder to deal with than somebody that went through some emotional stress and not so much of the physical stress. So that's just one aspect of it. Now, I've also decompressed police officers, and Iceman, it's no easier for the police out there. I mean, it's different. I'm not comparing the two basically, but the police have their issues with what they deal with when you have somebody that's been on the force their entire life and dedicated their entire life. Because let's face it, law enforcement has the highest rate of divorce. It's not easy. I'm not a police officer, and again, I don't understand, but I'm there for them, family members in that situation. So it's not easy for that. Those people are suffering in their own right. Much more manageable, I think. In some state, I'm not comparing the two, so I'm not going to go down that road. But I appreciate all the vets, and I appreciate the police, and that's exactly why I got so mad in the space the other day initially with what they're doing to the flag at the White House with the code, because these people represent that flag, and the flag represents us all, and I'm not going to tolerate the disrespect that's happening. So thanks for the stories, guys. Keep it up.
Thanks, Andrew. And it's hard for civilians to put them in that seat. You can't even comprehend, what they've been through. Feed me.
Yeah, I just want to say, did we lose Genesis? I guess so. I was just going to tell her I was another North Carolina girl, and then mention about the coins, since I was in the military and I have quite a few coins. They're not only just coins for the things that you do good, you do well, and you are honored with them, but they're also a little esprit de corps stuff that goes behind those coins. So if you're in a bar and somebody yells coin check or taps the coin on the bar, everybody has to pull out their coin. And if you don't have a coin, you're going to buy the round for everybody, and that could be expensive. But if everybody has their coin, then the person who did the coin check is going to pay. So that's just a little throw out there. And then from the standpoint of veterans, it particularly pains me what goes on, particularly in VA facilities and stuff like that. Now, I know there's some really good ones out there. I have a gal at my church. Her stepfather begged and begged and begged for care. I mean, he was being seen, but he was having a lot of problems, and he ended up shooting himself out in front of a VA hospital because of the lack of care. So I know there's a lot that needs to be done in relation to the care for veterans. His was most likely a PTSD issue, but it's incredibly sad when you lose people because people ignore you. So I just want to throw that out there, and then you can move on from me. Thanks.
No, Patricia, we will never move on from you. And thank you for your service, because you're a veteran. So, you can probably, think about it differently than the average citizen can. So I really enjoy your outlook. Thank you. Go.
Thank you, Marlon. I have just such respect for military people. I have a lot of family that was in the military. I tried a couple different times to get in the military. Unfortunately, by my age, they weren't saying anymore, okay, here, go to jail or go to the military. Unfortunately, I caught my first case that disallowed me to go to the military before I was of age to go to the military. I still tried a couple times after that. So I have such a deep respect for anybody that's been in the military, anybody that's listening, and also to anybody who was a spouse or family member of someone that's been to military, because they have to deal with a lot as well when they send their husbands or wives off to war. We hear the 22 a day. And we were talking about it the other day, and somebody said that it was like 16 or 17 now. Well, I mean, that's still 16 or 17 too many. If anybody, the Five Finger Death Punch song, Wrong Side of Heaven, great song when you listen to it, when you just listen to it on the radio. But if you've never seen that video, I implore everyone who has feelings about our military people like I do and like all of you do, to watch that video. It's very powerful. A couple scenes in it There's one guy. He's getting arrested by the cops, and he has a gun in his waist, and they throw him against the cop car, and they pull the gun out, and they're handcuffing him up, and then the cop that's handcuffing him sees that they've got the same army tattoo on their forearm, and they uncuff him and they gently put him into the back of the cop car because they realize what the guy's been through. And another scene, there's a homeless vet sitting on the sidewalk, and he's just crying and despondent and just broken. And a guy in a suit and tie comes up to him, and he tries to start talking to him, and the guy's just pushing him away and yelling at him, "Get away from me." And the guy just tries to look in his eyes, and he said, "I know, I am you, I've been there, I know. Just because I'm in a suit and tie doesn't mean that I don't know." It's a powerful video. Again, I'd implore anybody to watch it. Thanks for letting me talk, guys. It's been a great space. I love all your stories.
Thanks, Coach. And I do invite anybody that would like to come up and speak. Yeah, it's a tough subject. It's a hard subject, but definitely makes me reflect. I feel for a lot of these guys, and you wouldn't know it. You know, you wouldn't know it looking at them, but I guess some of the actions, and I think part of the problem too is they come out of there, or they come out of the military with depression, and they're easily, on drugs, like, popping Percocets and smoking pot, and these are all things that these guys do. If you could imagine PTSD on top of an addiction, you could tell how quickly it could get out of hand, and that may be some stem of the problem. And they have done some studies on hormonal therapies that have helped these guys with their PTSD. Sometimes you can correct your hormonals in your body, and it'll make your mind run a little differently. So I really think, like, this is where we should be concentrating, not spending $39 million to deface what is it, Camp Liberty now? I mean, do we really need the $39 million to go to that? Do we really need the billions of dollars to fly to the moon? I don't think that we should spend one more dime outside of this country until every hungry person and homeless vet is off the streets. And I think the Republicans need to make a stand here, when Trump and DeSantis and this primary goes, and this awful spending of billions of dollars to run these campaigns. You watch and see how much money is wasted. Iceman, and I got to step out for one more second, and I'll be right back.
You got it, boss. I don't remember who said it. Sometimes I should keep better notes, but it is only just finally being recognized in the emergency services industry that with what we see on a daily basis causes us PTSD, be it a medic, a firefighter, whatever. It all builds up. And someday, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for Spaces, there's stuff that I couldn't talk about today. And I'm sorry, I forget who was that. I think it was Alec. Got broken up over, different things pertaining to his family. And he broke down. Those that have known me long enough have heard me actually have to get off Space because I just couldn't talk about it anymore. And if it wasn't for the people here, I still wouldn't be able to talk about it. I would still go beyond getting choked up, stuffing my face into a pillow for the things that I've seen in my life. And it's all technically been civilian, non-military. So let that sink in. Thank a firefighter, thank a medic if you see him, buy him coffee, whatever. Let them know that they are cared for and concerned. The people have a concern for them. That's about all I can say on that. And Susie, you've had your hand up, so please, by all means.
Hey, I wanted to address something about the armed army and the armed forces and all that, and the money that we're spending and send it to Ukraine, and we can't take care of our veterans. We can send billions of dollars to Ukraine, but my son can't get a damn ice machine for his troops in Syria. He tried to, they have the room the equipment and everything they need to build themselves a pool. And I'm talking a hole in the ground that's lined in plastic, right? Heavy duty plastic, that they want to make a pool for all their guys to have an area. And the commander said it yes initially, and then he kiboshed it. And it's like, this is a morale booster. Why can't these guys sitting in this hot ass place have the ability to, take a swim and sit out and just relax, right? Can't do it. Can't get an ice machine, can't get anything they need. But, Rachel Levin is out there, telling us that our kids need to all be transgender and join the Army. This Army mom isn't too happy today. Well, what day am I happy? And you want to talk about PTSD? Imagine, that helicopter that went down the other day in Syria, trust me, there's some PTSD going on after that one.
Susie, can you tell that story one more quick time? I think it's a great space, and this is kind of what we were talking about, and the incident your son was in.
Sure. At a little after midnight the other night, I can't remember what day is today. Wednesday, maybe it was Sunday or Monday night. A helicopter, a Chinook helicopter, went down in Syria right outside his compound. And what happened was the pilot was coming in, and a tarp that the Syrian special forces had not secured to the ground flew up and got caught in the back rotor of the copter. Now, needless to say, it went into a wild spin, but the pilot saved a tremendous amount of lives. I mean, nobody at this point, nobody has died from it. I think everybody, that they had to save got out. But he landed that craft. And my son said, Mom, you couldn't have taken a crane and placed that copter any more precisely than the way he landed it in a really, really tight spot where no helicopter should have even been landing. He landed it safely. And I don't know if you know anything about Chinooks, but a lot of times when they crash, the blades come flying off, and because they droop and they impale pilots and stuff. He landed it so that didn't happen. They all jumped, my son is like his mama. It's like you run towards the fire, right? He got out there. He had guys standing around with their thumbs up their butt, not knowing what to do. One guy was holding a tourniquet, and here's this guy who's lost his leg and is bleeding out. And he's just standing there shell-shocked, and my son was like, give me that and get over here and help me. And then he started running around and getting, trucks ready to haul these guys out and get them onto C-130s. And when the special forces guy asked him who was going to drive the trucks, my son's like, I'm driving one. Special forces guy's like, fantastic. They get in the truck, they're driving, they've got guys with neck injuries. So my son decided, fuck this, I'm going onto the tarmac and to drive him down the tarmac. Well, then some Air Force guy comes running out there, and he's like, you can't be driving down here, blah, blah, blah. And my son was like, fuck you, pardon my French. I've got guys with neck injuries, and I'm not taking them over all of these bumps. We're going to get down there. I'm not going to crash into the plane or anything. We're going to get them down there safely and as comfortably as possible. Got that done, got everything done, and sad part out of this story is that there are guys who are now trying to get on the I helped out bandwagon, a little bit of stolen valor going on right in the troops, trying to say that they were part of the help. And he's like, I never saw these guys. They were not around anywhere, and they're trying to take credit. So he's actually now been asked to be on the investigative team, because they have to do a formal investigation about what happened. And so he's going to make sure that he shuts that. He's going to Negan that. Okay. Let's just say that. I won't swear. My son saved at least one life and helped a whole lot of others, made sure medics were on the plane with the guy with the collapsed lung, all that stuff. And I couldn't be prouder of my boy.
Outstanding. That's why I wanted you to tell that story, because that's a great story, and you should be proud. That's awesome.
I am proud, and I'm really proud of the pilot. The pilot really deserves a medal because it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. yes, you're 100%. A lot worse. Terry, morning.
Good morning, Marlon. Thanks for bringing me up. You were talking a few minutes ago about funding and money being spent and election campaign funds. I've recently been doing some research on campaign financing and funds. I'm looking at a website called transition.fec.gov, and specifically in Appendix 4, it goes through the years about election laws and campaign funding and that type thing. And one thing that I found particularly interesting in 1971 is when they started putting the checkbox on tax returns to donate $1 to the election funds. And by 1976, there was enough tax money that the 1976 election was the first publicly funded federal election in U.S. history. And that meaning that there was enough funds collected from your tax returns to fund all of the candidates running for office. But then after that, the years going forward, there's just like every 2 to 4 years, there's new amendments and new regulations and what have you that have allowed the PACs and the super PACs. And I think it would be interesting to see if we could somehow go back to the public funding from the tax returns and eliminate PACs and super PACs, so that it's a people-funded election funds rather than corporate-funded or super PACs that people donate to and they really don't know what their whole agenda is.
Terry, I like that a lot. And I kind of remember something like that as a kid. But, yeah, that's surely not the way it is now. Yeah, it's
So Terry, I have a question for you. If people are donating to the just a bucket of presidential campaign funds, who decides how those campaign funds get distributed?
You know, I'm not that far in my research yet. I'm still focusing on how Congress has changed these rules all these years over and over to allow corporations to fund our politicians. I'm finding some pretty interesting information. I'm not well versed enough to talk about it all, but I will look for that information as I continue to research.
Well, I love that, Terry, because, you know, we have the same sentiment that bring these politicians on to be able to fund them by the American people so that they're not influenced by the large PACs. They're not influenced by the lobbyists. They're not influenced by the engineering firms in their town. And that's what's happening. That's where a lot of this money that comes from the campaigns is from exactly what I spoke of. Fumble, good morning.
Wow, what a game changer that would be, huh? If politicians had to be elected according to the content of their character rather than the size of their connections through lobbyists and corporations and what have you, this country has been usurped by public-private partnerships, and we're all suffering because of it. And I think, I don't know how to fix it, but I think that if they keep pushing us through this, there will be some sort of reckoning, whether it's at the ballot box or whatever. But yeah, I don't think they really care much about us as a whole, but we are America, and they better start paying attention, because I think there's some kind of, I don't know. I think there's something coming, and there's a lot of people that are they're done, they're fed up, and like I said, I'm not a revolutionary or anything. I'm just, I know I'm tired of it. So, yeah, that would be great. Get that money out of there.
You know, Bumble, we're already working on that. It's actually already working. We have some candidates on there that have already received funds from coming on this. So, I implore the space to bring their politicians forward. This way, they can be funded outside of the normal means. Take it out of the GOP and the Democratic hands, and now they'll have to just answer to the American people. Could you imagine that? Bumble, is that like a revelation? Is that something that's new? I mean, you're right. Wow. Get back to voting on these politicians with values, or American values, right? I mean, obviously we're watching it displayed, and it's not American values now. Jess. Go ahead, Jess.
Hey, morning, Merlin. Thank you for the space, and for all my brothers and sisters at Combat Arms of the U.S. Army, HUA. I finally, after what's now, 2023, so now it's like 12 years of fighting, the VA and the U.S. Army. I finally got my PTSD disability rating. Finally, it's been a tough road. Still working on it. I appreciate that everybody that's talking about it, because everybody experiences different things, even if they're in the same event or in other events. We can kind of somewhat relate, but we can't totally relate because it's the perception of each individual of what they experience at that time. One of the things that that kind of galls me with everything as a whole, like the flag issue, which I agree with the other person that upset me a lot the other day. But luckily I was able to kind of keep it contained. The current event deal that was being talked about, of the like the IRS putting that little checkbox, donating $1, and they could fund the campaigns. Yeah, we need to get lobbyists the hell out of our political system. Period. Two things that need to happen. One, let the states go back to sending senators to Congress, not letting people choose for representation that get suckered in by the lobbyists. No, we need to let the state legislatures pick the U.S. senators to be sent to Congress, like it was set up in the Constitution a long time ago. Second, this and I'm just going to call it out of the BS of whether, I don't know a whole lot of the DNC, but Ronna McDaniel, $700,000 a year. That is twice the salary that the sitting U.S. president makes. So that tells you what? That tells you that she gets to make whatever decision she makes, it gets done. So basically, it's kind of like, to hell with you citizens, or you people out there and your votes, because what she chooses or what her little clique chooses, that's what rolls. That needs to stop. I am done with the left-right paradigm. There's people in the middle that have better ideas and can probably take care of stuff in this country, versus this left-right paradigm, because they're just a left arm and right arm of the same puppet, and we need to find out who those puppet masters are and take the money away from them. Take them to the courts if necessary, and say, look, you're done. It's over. Get out. And the lobbyists, the same thing, and then if the politicians don't want to comply, well, guess what? I'm not opposed to the fact of doing a pots and pans revolution, throw them all on the street and start all over again, because just like the Bible has given us the ability to, save ourselves with God and Jesus, The same thing, the Constitution was written, and it's in there to where it gives us the ability of how we can take care of our government if it gets out of control. And I'll land my plane there for the moment.
Yeah, Chess, great points. Pots and pans revolution. I have never heard that term before. I've been around politics my whole life. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's where the people in Iceland, they got fed up with their current conditions. I want to say this was within about 20 years ago, that they just got tired of the political environment over there, and they just went in there and they threw all the politicians to the street and started all over.
I love that term. I'm going to tweet that out later on. A pots and pans revolution. That's awesome. Larissa. Larissa.
Twitter's been glitching all day today. Good morning, everyone. Vet rescue. I'm always for the children, people. I love the children, right? So Vets for Child Rescue, I remember hearing them in a podcast where the gal, she's lovely, who was trafficked herself, who works with them rescuing children. I remember saying they offer a service for the vets to help them with their PTSD. I know Greg Sawyer, whatever his name. I was just searching him. Hold on a second. Craig. Hold on, I'm getting there.
That's him. Go ahead.
Yeah, Craig. So, Craig Sawman. I would reach out to him or her for help. They are beautiful people. They used to have a space once a month now, and the host who ran that space is blocked by Twitter. So for some reason they suspended it.
So wait, Larissa, you're talking about Warrior. Warrior's actually banned from Twitter now.
It's not Warrior. It's Coop, CJ Coop, I think his name is.
Yeah, that's Warrior. Yep.
Banned from Twitter. I couldn't believe it. Well, actually, you know what? I'm very unsurprised by anything that occurs nowadays for anybody who's trying to raise the vibration of people's lives, because PTSD leaves us in a low vibration. I also have PTSD. There's modalities out there that just don't work, but then there is some, and just praying always helps. But I feel for my vets. I love my veterans. So what's my point is, I would reach out to that Craig guy. He might be helpful to someone who's suffering from fighting in the war with that. Just wanted to put that out there. Cool.
Yeah, well, you're talking about Kim, and she was part of the documentary back in, I think it was 2019 or 2020, and it's called Contraland. This is the girl who helped the FBI make profiles, and within minutes they had arrests from guys exposing themselves thinking it's a child. So they would lure these predators into this situation and have each individual state prosecute them. They would find out their IP address, and they would realize that they were predators, and they would remove them. This was their mission, and I'm shocked to hear that news, Larissa. That and if you do ever talk to Kim, I would absolutely love her to come on here and talk about that. And
absolutely. I think it would bring purpose back if our vets can just connect. And I think during this morning space with Brett, he also mentioned to call your legislative people who are running, or and see if they'll come into our Twitter spaces and meet us here as a new town hall.
You know, this has been brought up a lot. This is something that we're working on. And we have them in our spaces. Nate Kane from West Virginia, Christian Lamar from Arizona, Scott Pressler. You know, these people are influential people in their states, and they're showing us the way, and they're giving us great advice. I mean, you're able to come onto these spaces and actually, you know, ask these people questions. You know, Christian Lamar, you know, I'm a big fan. I think the precinct committeeman is the way to go. That's the way we're going to be able to cleanse this whole process and give the power back to the people. Because in my particular state, in my county, there was some kind of amendment done where now my GOP chair has the last word. So that means, in the GOP's eyes, this chairwoman is playing a popularity contest. This isn't the voters. This is a popularity contest to the chair. So, you know, we've lost our voice in our government. We've lost our voice in our schools. We've lost our voice in our states, counties, townships. So, you know, we need to get we need to get going. Right? You know, here's another example. Carmen's up here, right? She went to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and registered 10,000 new voters. 10,000. That's a big number. Try and get 10,000 signatures on something. It would be almost impossible. Bumble, what would you like to add? Oh, go ahead, Larissa. Go ahead.
Marlon, why not go as far as calling our schools? Get those board members on Twitter Space. I'm going to do it today. Why not? You got to start somewhere. Got to keep trying.
Yeah. You know, Christian Lamar has actually told me how I can actually forcibly get Twitter into our public forums. And you know what? I have to open my eyes, and I have to make this connection to do this to my own legislature. Bumble, what do you have to add?
So, you know, I'm listening here, and this might be a pie in the sky idea, but and let's start with the federal government, and then we can bleed it down to local, state governments, and even school board officials and town officials and all this. But let's start with the federal government. I don't have the wherewithal or expertise to establish this, but if somebody does, I definitely sign on to it and probably would contribute to, you know, whatever I can in my meager existence here, to a website where it lists all the politicians in our government in Washington, D.C. And we would be able to, as American patriots, log on, and we would have the option to either place a red rose or a black rose, signifying you're a piece of shit and you're not doing very well for the American people. Or maybe an in-between rose, like you could do better, and we could all log on, and everybody across the country could log on and see that these officials that are elected and supposedly working on our behalf as our representatives are not doing a good job, and we could let them know by establishing this type of website, and nobody would have to march into the Capitol and risk their livelihoods or their freedoms. They could just merely stay with their voices or a finger push on a black rose that we don't like what you're doing, so cut the shit and let's do better, or get out, or something like that. So thanks. That's all I had to say.
Well, what you're speaking of, Bumble, is polling. So you're talking about developing an apparatus that you'd be able to poll these candidates. So we have something similar. We are starting to list, candidates, and they are starting to receive some funding. But I do like the rating. That's a pretty good idea. So there's lots of ways to skin this cat. So now everybody wants to be tight-lipped. Nobody wants to come up and talk. I'm up here pontificating in front of you people. So Susie, what do you got? How about you, Iceman or Maggie? You got anything before we go on to another subject?
I'm good.
Oh,
Sorry, I've been a little quiet.
that's okay. Can I say one more thing? Marlon?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you have an idea, it could be the arrow that's going to shoot forward and make the change, and not stay so comfortable. We have to make them uncomfortable. So and I know from experience of my walk through the Common Core mess, half of the people who push that agenda never put their foot in the classroom. They don't know children at all, and they got away with it. And they can't do it anymore. The only way is to get in their faces and know that you're here. Our children come first, and they have to stop. Just say no, just say no more. That's all. Just try calling someone on your board of ed. You don't have to go anywhere. You just pick up the phone. We have our phones in our hands, and it's a powerful tool.
Well, we sure got a lot of hands up now, Marlon. So you asked for it. Who do you want to call on next?
There you go. Let's go Red Pill, IC Sam, Jacqueline, James.
All right. You called. I'm up here. So I got a question to throw out to this. When we changed over with the amendment, we made it where the population elected our senators. There had to have been a reason. There has to be notes. There has to be footnotes. There had to have been a lot of great arguments and discussions as to why we felt the need in those days to do that. Anybody have any source for that? Because I would love to. I'm a big fan of going back and reading the Federalist Papers and things like this, so I get a better idea of why we did the things that we did constitutionally. There's got to be that bibliography for the reason that we stopped allowing our state Senate to elect our senators to send to Washington. So I'd love some information if anybody's got it. Otherwise, I know it sounds like I'm being lazy, but I got 50 other things going on right now, so that seems like I'd get a little. That's a squirrel moment for me.
Yeah, there were processes early on that made the funding and the action slow, and the states couldn't unify, and things were ratified. Ratification occurred, and then the Constitution was amended to help the processes go through, because they were always finding themselves in a stalemate. It wasn't actually working efficiently. If that's what you're referring to, I believe.
Yeah, and that's exactly what that was. So that was my hunch. My thoughts were, we had the Senate sitting in Washington waiting on 2 or 3 states to get off their ass and get, sorry about the person, to come to a consensus to send their delegates up there, to send the senators up there. So that's what I suspected. But with the technology we have these days, would that fix what was broken then? I guess that's a good way to put it.
It's a double-edged sword. There's pluses and minuses. I mean, you currently, yeah, we'll get into it deeper. This is a complex discussion, which we usually talk about this stuff on Saturday, but we're opening it up and we got some hands. So let's see if somebody else jumps up, because this is a very complex discussion.
So let's go to IC James.
Hi, Marlon, Megan, Iceman, and everybody else. Marlon asked a few minutes ago if somebody wanted to change the subject. Mine is a change, so I will wait if this is a bad time.
You know what, dear? How about this? We're going to roll through the hands, and we're going to come back to you to change a little bit of the set. Awesome. Thank you. I'm not sure who's next, to be honest with you.
I believe it was Jamie, Jacqueline, Sapphire, then Bumble.
Morning, Jamie.
Good morning, everybody. I was hesitant to talk today. I still don't know if I should be, but I think I better do it for my two friends, Mike. So they're both PTSD military, and I've been trying to get this out in the world about what they're doing with medications. Both of my friends ate a bullet right after their medications were changed that they were doing well on for years, because the government wasn't making money off the medications they were on, but they had deals with big pharma for the medications that they give out now that aren't tested and can cause people to really go off the edge. Some of you know I'm going through that. So I think that we need to pay attention to what they're doing and the manipulation being played with the drugs, and they're purposely not wanting people to get better. They're purposely making them worse, and they know this is happening. They don't say it to the public. There's a lot of old medications that we had that were working that a lot of people were on for years, and they're taking those all away from the people, and they're giving them untested drugs that actually cause more psychosis. And I really wish that there was a way to get people more aware of that. And because it's easily, they say, oh, this is a bad drug, a lot of people get addicted to it, and so people say, okay, I agree with that, that's good, let's take that out of society. Well, that's not what's happening. They're replacing it, as I said, with much worse drugs. And I think we need to take some steps back, and we need to, look through medical records, like my medical records, and proof that what they're doing is actually destroying people, and it's on purpose. And that's just all I'm going to say, because I just want to shout out for my two friends, Mike, who both aren't here anymore. And they're not here anymore because they weren't cared for properly. The medicines that they had were working properly, and they were taken away, and they were put in back into their hells, back into their night terrors. Every time they heard helicopters, they'd go off the rails, and they weren't like that when they were on their original medication. So it is something happening, and I wish more people would realize it. And we need advocates. We need people that were never on the medications to advocate for us, because people that are on them cannot advocate for themselves, because they're just seen as drug seekers, because things have been thrown into boxes, and oh well, so I just I'm sorry for the poor language skills this morning. This space is kind of upsetting me with the PTSD stuff, and I just really wish, as I said, please recognize what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose to people. It's just another way for them to get rid of us. So anyway, thank you for any attention looking into that, because I'm sorry if I don't bring the receipts to the table with me right this second, but they're out there. Don't look on the government sites. Don't look on the FDA. It's all lies. It's all scams. And a lot of people are being hurt. They were doing really well for years. And that's it. Thank you so much. I'm going to drop down. I'm sorry for being emotional. And I'm sorry that I don't have a better way to articulate this, but this is real. It's happening. And it's been happening for years. A lot of it was really pushed forward with Obama. And I myself need some advocates. And there's a lot of military out there with PTSD. They really need some advocates, because they're literally, I'm sorry, being tortured. It's torture. It's torture by the big pharma. So you guys have a blessed day. I love you all. And thank you.
Okay, stop. You're making me cry. So, Jamie, thank you for coming up and sharing that. And it is important. It's a hard subject. I'm sorry. Jacqueline.
I love you, Jamie.
Let me just say, I didn't have night terrors for years. My night terrors went away, and my medicine was taken away, and I have night terrors again. This stuff's real, and we need help. We need advocates, because like I said, we can't fight for ourselves. They just say, oh, you're a druggie, you're just a drug seeker, you're just this, you're that. I've never done anything illegal in my life. I have 0 points on my record. There's no reason that I'm treated the way I am. So, and many others are. And as I said, both my Mike's friends, both of them ate a bullet because Big Pharma did it to them.
God bless you, Jamie. We love you.
Hang in there, Jamie. And your being upset is totally justified. So you can come in here and cry, yell, scream anytime you want to. I don't think there's anybody in this room that would stop you. And if they did, they'd have to deal with the host and the co-host, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely, dear. Thank you. Jacqueline.
Well, on the issue with how the vets are treated, it's pretty bad, and I agree with that. And I think one of the things that drew me to Trump was his want to fix that, because I have seen so much with veterans, because I worked with them for many years as a care provider, and I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot. As far as PTSD, obviously, I think most people know I have it, but it wasn't intentionally told to the world. I had a really bad night, and I shouldn't even have posted it, and I did. And, and I sometimes struggle, but it's not from military. It is different. But I had years of abuse that just isn't something that I normally would share, So I do understand both, and I don't take medications. I don't need it. I do have times where I just really have to draw back and just, I don't know. I kind of seclude myself for a little bit, and then I get better. And usually I'm quite upbeat and funny. It gets hard when I see like the border being open, and I know the dangers that are coming through, and it's horrifying. And it's horrifying not just for me, but for the children. Our children are already dying on the streets. I mean, anybody that drives down the street can see that. And when you see those homeless people, or not even homeless, those walking zombies, those are someone's baby. Those are someone's brother. Those are someone's family member. That's an American. We have been in war for a very long time. But the one sure way to lose a war is when you don't fight back. And they're not fighting back. They're letting it happen. But and I don't want to like go off track of your space, and I apologize for that. But that was my own issue, is that I do understand the trafficking. I do understand the guns. I do understand the drugs, and I do understand what they're doing. And it's not, it's a whole picture when you get into politics that I didn't even fully understand. I grew up, my grandfather was in the military, and all my family, I mean, we would sit down and talk politics when I was growing up my whole life. So I kind of had familiarity, but I kind of dropped away from it for a while. But I could tell you when something ain't right. I could tell you exactly when something ain't right. When it's not American, I can smell it, see it, I know it. And so I do know that, as I got into politics following Donald Trump, that I started seeing things that I was very shocked was going on too, and it's set up a certain way. I don't know that they're out to kill everybody, so to speak. However, it is killing hundreds of people, thousands of people, and it's our children, it's our families, it's splitting families up. And then their policies further that slaughter of family, and so I think that we do need to get on track, and I love the idea of making donations individually to the politicians instead of through the GOP or whatever. Somebody said something about independent. Well, if you even have any idea how I think, I'm very I'm a terrible conservative. I'm an awful conservative. However, I know this system is a two-party system, and one is completely gone and the other one's half broken. And the best way to do it is stay with the one half broken and fix it. And that is the best strategy anybody can use. If you split it off, you're taking away votes, and they will never let a third party in, for sure. And to make my point a little more clear is that they're panicking for a reason, because it works. They don't like MAGA. They don't like people that are in the Republican Party that do not follow their suit. Why? Because it's actually a danger to what they're doing. So I really hope we can continue on the path of, sticking together, and finding solutions such as what Marlon does and what Mega does and Iceman does and Carmen and all of the other patriots out there. And Scott Pressler is an amazing young man. But I think there is hope. It is going to be a long road for all of us. I mean, it's already seems like we've been in it for so long, but every time you think it's almost over, it just another thing comes up, and now we found out that, we got a bigger problem than I think anybody realized, but we'll get through it together because we're Americans. And as far as, one of the things I'd have to say as far as, when they don't take care of our military, when they don't take care of our police, when they don't take care of our veterans, I think that is a for sure sign that they are not there for us, because we are a republic and we are designed to have laws. And when they don't honor that, and the people that are going to keep those laws, they ain't worth shit. They aren't worth our money. They aren't worth our time. They should not even be in office. And for that, I'll just drop down. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm sorry I'm not very eloquent.
Nah. What do you mean? You're American. That's what I hear coming out of your mouth. You're right. If they're not backing the right things, they're probably not on our side. I mean, yes, we need to fund these campaigns different. There has to be some kind of cleansing process, and we're going to go through it. We the American people, we the United States. Sorry. So I want to go to suffering. She's been in and out. I'm sorry for making you wait. How you doing? Sapphire. I'm sorry, Sapphire.
Hello, everybody. I also am going to talk about two things affecting both the children and veterans. I live in Oregon, so you can only imagine that the burnt out zone is being turned into a 15-minute city. A lot of our veterans that were even homeless were displaced because of this 15-minute city that they want to build in Portland, Oregon. And then I just found out recently, when we were able to get the 3 independents in that we're going to clean up the city, that we can't even get rid of a homeless encampment that's 1,500 feet from a middle school, high school, and elementary school unless there is unanimous vote between the people in our city council. So things are just really ugly, but you know what? We have to have hope. And the other thing is that the war on our children. I have 2 special needs children. I call it special, but not so special for the education camp. They have ADD and ADHD. When I remember special needs children while I was going to high school, I graduated in 89. There was an advocate for that child during the 4 years of high school to be able to graduate. That doesn't exist anymore. My children have to be in different classrooms with different people that don't even know what special needs is. And things are just getting so ugly in Oregon because they want to roll back even like special testing. They want to roll back special assignment giving. My daughters are supposed to be receiving 50% of homework less and 50% of test questions less, and only matching, an ABC. So, this is just, it's a war on our special kids, because if you're not so special with Down syndrome or autism, they don't do a special IEP for you. I'm sorry, but this is just getting to be very overwhelming. And I love you all. Thank you for talking about all these things, because, sometimes we don't feel we can be emotional on Twitter. But let me tell you, Jackie and all of you, Carmen, thank you for speaking out, because my great uncle, I never met him, but my sister looks just like him, so God has a special place for her. And he died at the Battle of the Bulge. So today is very, very special for me. And he died, he was almost half blind, so they only sent him to be a watchman at the battle at the ammunitions place that was blown up. And so Flag Day is very important for me. And the fact that President Trump, God chose that day for him to be born, I really believe that this is a spiritual battle, and that he is our warrior, and he is going to be our retribution.
I know a lot of people in this space believe the same. I heard the word reckoning. I heard the word reckoning out a couple different people, and that word means a reckoning, right? I almost can't express in my heart exactly what that word means. I want to go on. I'm sorry.
Marlon, I hate to interrupt. I just got to give Jacqueline some support. If that was just Jacqueline speaking. Your kids with special needs in school, I have some experience with that. Both my brother and sister, at the time, this is a hard session, guys. We gotta step back a little. This is a hard session, Marlon Iceman MAGA. But hey, my brother and sister, God rest their soul, were both very handicapped. But when they got diagnosed with what they had from birth, they were only the number 19th and 20th not in the country, in the world. And I never even paid attention to what they called it, because I just kind of I don't know, separated myself from that. But Jacqueline, I understand what you're going through absolutely with this. I may understand a little bit more with the funding, wheelchairs into vans. I mean, or how the people didn't want us moving to town long ago because it would increase the budget. You have a lot of people preying on the money when you're going to school, and all these different things. But my point is, I can go into all my past later, but my point is to stand strong and just stand as strong as you can, because everybody's got your back. Okay, stand strong. The vets stand strong. Jacqueline stands strong with your special needs kids. We just love you. Okay, that's all I can say. We love you. Sorry to interrupt, Marlon.
No, thanks, Andrew. Thank you. And I'm sorry. I know I have Bumble and ICU Sam. I know ICU Sam, you wanted to change the subject, but not. I'm sorry. Any other time, I will do it. And I asked for it. I really appreciate it. Bumble.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not going to change the subject either, although I do have one that I want to pursue at another time. That's okay. I can put it in the back burner. It doesn't matter. Not going anywhere for me. I just want to say I do this thing, and I'm really glad that Jackie came and spoke today, and what she said to me was that she didn't feel much like she was contributing as much as she would like. And you know what? I do that to myself, and I shouldn't, because I have this kind of philosophy that I try to adhere to, and I don't listen to myself enough about it. It kind of goes like this: if you can't be a wave today, at least be a ripple, because you never know what your ripple is going to produce. And that's kind of what Jackie did today, and how she affected me. Because I think all of us collectively, are operating in a fashion that they didn't think we could. We were supposed to devolve into infighting and chaos, and look what we have here. Look at what's going on here. We're anything but that, and we reject that, and that's how little they think of us, that we can't come together and get into workable solutions and strategies to get rid of these communists. Let's face it, they're communists, so they're running our country. And I just think I should never sell myself short about what I'm contributing. Maybe I say something stupid and fall flat on my face. Oh well, I'll do better next time. But I just think that anybody that's kind of reluctant to share, please don't be, because you never know what you might say that might trigger something in somebody else that causes them to bring something very pertinent and valuable to the table. So I thank each and every one of you that step up and do that or whatever. And I really appreciate this space. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Bumble. And you brought up two good points. We're watching humanity take over. We're not going down that rabbit hole. And I do believe in the end, I think humanity will overtake the evil, honestly. Sam. I see you, Sam.
Oh, thanks, Marlon. I know I said I wanted to change the subject, but in a way it is kind of in the same vein with children. There's something that's really, I don't know if you want to call it bothering me, but when I think about it, my anxiety levels go through the roof. And it's simply this: we're in the month right now where they want to celebrate a whole Pride Month. Well, there's no pride in it. God called this an abomination. However, my thoughts about that came up last year when the Supreme Court dropped and kind of dissolved Roe versus Wade and sent it back to the states. Now we're going to talk about the children. The thing that I feel like I want to do, I don't know how to do it per se, is to take God's rainbow back. That's God's rainbow. And I think we ought to take it and put it in the shape of God's rainbow and take it back for the babies that are constantly getting slaughtered by abortion, and give our babies and people that are making decisions for those babies a reason not to abort. Let's not support abortion for birth control purposes, and take back that flag and put it out there, and let's take over this month of June for our babies, our civilization, and our future. So that's what's bothering me. And if it's changing the subject, I apologize, but I do think with children, it's still in the same vein. You want to protect veterans. We need to get them off the street. We need to take care of our people that are disabled. We need to take care of our vets, our homeless, any of these people. So I think when we're talking about people, we need to talk about our unborn babies in that same spectrum. So I'm done, and thanks for letting me speak, you guys.
Sam, that was perfect. That wasn't changing the subject at all, because there's a lot of foundation there that we've been missing. And Jacqueline, I want to take Advocate first, because Advocate has a lot of experience in exactly what we were talking about. So please, Advocate.
Hi everyone. Sorry for jumping the line. I didn't I didn't mean to, but I couldn't. I was cleaning my kids' room just listening, and I couldn't not request a mic when I heard that mom speaking, because it just it fuels my fire here. What they are doing, not just to the kids, but for especially for a child with a disability, the lack of compassion, respect, and I don't know, just overall humanity is disgusting. You hit the nail on the head. If a student doesn't have the, I'm going to put it in air quotes, but you can't see it, right kind of disability that is going to get your district not just more funding, but notoriety, because you can offer these programs and you're so accepting and including. They don't. They overlook you. They won't acknowledge parents. They won't put the funding into the support for these students. They would rather indoctrinate them and target them. A boy with autism is a million times, like that's the statistic, a million times more likely to be targeted by the gender ideology movement because of just their innocence, the way they are. That is disgusting. You are using something. So, my older son has autism, and we call it his superpower. You are using something so unique and so special about an individual as a weapon against them to meet somebody's agenda. And we are sitting there and we are allowing it to happen. Our town today, I'm going to share a quick thing and then I'll land my plane. I'm probably going to get thrown out of Wakefield now today, guys. We have a veteran advisory council who went to town council asking for the pride flag to be removed today. And the only flags to be flown are the American flag, POW, MIA. Can anybody guess what my town council did? They voted no. They said that the American flag is well represented in our community. It is. At our cemeteries, where people gave their lives for this country, for us. I'm like beyond disgusted with the way things are going right now. And for anybody who is going to come to my space tonight, sorry guys, I'm plugging it, uncomfortable conversations.
Please, absolutely. Absolutely.
I had to push back the time from 9 p.m. Eastern to 9:30. I thought that our town's Flag Day ceremony was at 6. It's actually at 7. And my sons are going to be, we would have gone anyway, but they're Cub Scouts and they participate in it. Just so when we get back, I have enough time to get them to bed before we start talking. And tonight's topic goes into all of this too. We're going to be discussing these gender non-conforming child abuse bills that are being implemented across this country, where your state can take your child from you if you do not affirm this ridiculous gender ideology, that you don't allow your child to mutilate their body. They are going to remove them from you. If that doesn't terrify people, even if you're not a parent, it should. They have no business being in our homes, in our schools. Schools are meant to learn, and you learn about life just naturally. You learn about social justice and what's going on in your community. You do not need it to be force-fed down their throats. I do not need my rights as a mother stripped from me because I'm a good mom. I care. So I'm not going to let my children do something like that. I don't believe in it. We need to stand up and fight. Our veterans, our servicemen and women, their families did not sacrifice everything. We're also a Gold Star family. My kid's uncle did not give his life for this crap. Sorry, guys, I said crap. I know it's recorded. They didn't. And what is happening today across this country with the disrespect of the flag and honoring them in order to push these agendas, to ignore students who really need that extra help and loving care, and take those who are being manipulated from their loving, caring families, is not what this country is founded on. It is disgusting, and I'm going to pull into the station. Sorry, I went on every topic you guys were discussing.
No, advocate. That's why I brought you up. And, you're talking to a state that facilitates this behavior. If you're 15 years old and you approach your guidance counselor in the state of New Jersey, they can actually authorize you to get a transsexual operation, mind you, on the taxpayers, but that 15-year-old child can make that decision in the state of New Jersey. Jacqueline.
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry.
Sure.
I'm not sure how many people know this or not, but remember our military was don't ask, don't tell, right? So we are now the polar opposite of the spectrum, and our VAs have departments, the gender affirming departments, where you can go and have these surgeries and hormone blockers. You can go through transition even if you are active military, and it is being paid for. We are a military family. I said that. We had a hard time getting benefits through the VA when my ex-husband and I first got married. That is disgusting. We literally fought to get what we needed. Yet if we had looked at them and said, we'll just change sexes, we would have been welcomed in with open arms. Your tax money, our tax money, is going to fund this stuff. They're giving like emotion cards now to those in the service that if you feel ways, you can hand it to your superior so you can have a moment. Like, we are feeding into this ideologies, and we are making each other weak, and we are allowing things to happen that we never thought were possible. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. I didn't know if anybody knew about those departments. I recently just found out about it. I haven't been to the VA in quite some time. One of my friends is a VSO, and he actually left his job over this. He goes, I didn't fight for our country for this. I didn't lose battle buddies for this. I didn't suffer from PTSD for this. And he walked away from that job. And I think that speaks volumes. Okay, now I promise I'm done.
Thank you, dear. Jacqueline.
I just wanted to offer if Sapphire ever needs, it was Sapphire that was talking about her children, I think in Oregon. If you ever need any help, just go ahead and DM me. I do have a daughter who has auditory processing disorder. So that is in the category of a special needs. And it took years to get her help before we had internet. So it was very difficult. I actually had to take a second on the house to get a lawyer that I figured out very quickly that our school systems in California are very much like our political system, whereas my lawyer is connected to the other lawyers that protect them. So you have to be very particular when doing something like that. You want to go outside of as far as you can get away from your district if you're using lawyers. But when also, when it comes to the disability, a lot of people don't realize that there are laws in place in every state when it comes to children with disabilities. And one thing that has happened is, and I can speak this for California, is that they make more money if a child has a disability. So like, for instance, if they go and they have testing and they say, okay, a child has a reading a problem, and they do the testing, they'll come back and they're going to say it has auditory processing issues. Well, that's enough to get more funding for the school and put your child in a category, but it doesn't actually cure it. Auditory, I'm just using this as an example because this was my issue, but this also is a broad spectrum as far as any disability. When you're dealing with funding and you're dealing with people that are kind of, they're not helping, they're just using, and it's hurting your children and everybody else involved. But one thing you have to see is that when you get into, and you'll see this a lot in like the inner cities, and you'll see where they'll just label it auditory processing, here's your IEP, and now you're done. Well, guess what? Auditory processing is a blanket statement. That's like saying, well, you've been diagnosed with cancer. Well, you want to know where that cancer is, what kind of cancer that is. And if you don't know either one of those things, you're not going to get cured from that cancer. You're going to actually die. So, and what a lot of people do not realize with a lot of these disabilities that kids like in the inner cities do face, is that there is a window of opportunity to turn that around. And they don't utilize that because they don't test them in time. They have to do it before the ages. I think at the time I would talk to a specialist, it was 12, because the brain changes. So you want to imprint them with all this knowledge, early, so that you can redirect this disability. There's lots of issues. So, and you'll see a lot of like those type of issues. And I know this one wasn't yours, but where this is relevant is how it is manipulated for the money, the funding. And so, and why I'm speaking on this is as far as like even the inner cities, is a lot of people don't realize that auditory processing does kind of happen a lot to children that has been exposed genetically through people who do drugs or did drink or whatever. They may not have done it during, the time of pregnancy, but it's still prevalent. So I'm just saying that you'll see this in all schools. But what you have to know is that it is a money. It is about money. But with all of these things like COVID that happened, all of that, it's kind of like a cover. So if they failed your child right now for, like, let's say they get 2 years behind in reading, they're going to say, well, COVID happened. That's not our fault. Well, every school, every state has a book, and you can order it. It's about the disability laws in your state, and you want to try to glean through that the best of your ability, because mine's huge. Trust me, it wasn't easy, but and I actually had to ask for help with it. But you want to know as much as you can if you want more help. But it is out there. You just have to be relentless, because they are sly. They're highly educated people that know what they're doing to get what they want. So, and I don't remember if I had anything else to say, so I'm going to land my plane. I have to go feed my grandkids. Have a nice day, guys.
Well, Jacqueline, thanks for coming up and sharing. And
Mhm.
you really affected the space today. I'm glad what you brought. You brought a lot of heart to it, and real glad you came up today. I'll tell you what. So we do this space every day between 9 and 12. It is 12 o'clock. Unfortunately, today I have a little bit of a hard stop at 12:30. So I would invite anybody who would like to come up and speak, please. I know I saw Skinny up here earlier, and maybe he'll come up and join us. But we'll go back to Bumble and then Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks, Marlon. I'll just be brief. For me, it's very simple. It's about the kids. It's about the kids. It's about the kids. It's always been about the kids. And the person who spoke before me, I'm sorry if it was maybe it was Jacqueline. I'm not sure, but it is about money. And there's something about prepubescent children that's a feeding ground for these woke ideologists. It's a vulnerable period in a child's life where they're very susceptible to ideas and alternatives and what have you. And first they tried to destroy the nuclear family setup, and they get parents comfortable with working 2 careers, and then the children are safe in school all day. But now we're realizing that maybe not so much. So here they are now, and they're attacking that arena, and they're trying to scramble the kids' evolutionary process about figuring out who they are, what they are, by giving them 3rd and 4th and 5th options. And who wouldn't select one of the alternatives when they see these people that do select these alternatives be celebrated amongst their peers? So it's pretty insidious. It's disgusting, and it has to stop. And in my mind, the biggest mistake these bastards made was when they went after the children, because there's nothing like a mama bear or even a Papa Bear, when you mess with somebody's children, they're coming for you, and there will be a reckoning. And unfortunately for these people, I think there's going to be a lot of violence involved, and there's just no two ways to avoid that. So let them do what they do, or stop them when you can. But yeah, I think it's dark times ahead, but lighter times after that once we get rid of this crap. Thank you.
Thank you, Bumble. The reckoning. I heard it again. Elizabeth.
Good morning. I wanted to go off of what the speaker before Bumble was talking about. I live in California and I've raised 3 sons. 2 of my sons have autism. My one son, during all of his school years, every single semester or every year, he had to go to a different school. And this was why. The school wanted that funding. Where you get the funding, you take on special ed. Once they got that funding, that was the first thing they would always downsize is a special ed class. Every year, from 1st grade to 7th grade, my son went to a different school. And anybody who knows anything about autism knows that's the most hardest thing is change. They go off of schedules. It works for them. My youngest son now, I'm homeschooling him. He's 12 years old. It's not the kids I'm worried about, it's the teachers. When we were in the lockdown and my son was home, had to be schooled at home, that's when we found out programs that we didn't even know were being taught to our children. I didn't know that my son had one of his class requirements was CNN Kids. I'm like, why does my son have to watch CNN? Do you know what the teacher first response to me was? Do you have a problem with CNN? I go, no, I have a problem with any media teaching my child. Parents used to be notified. You go on a field trip, you have to sign papers. You watch something, you have to notify the parents. That's no longer being done. Like I said, I don't fear the kids anymore. It's the teachers. It's the school system of what they are teaching. And that's why my son starts junior high. He can't even go to school. I have to homeschool him because he's not going to learn anything any other way. I yield.
Good for you, dear. See, that's the stronger breed of women that we always talk about. That's it right there, Elizabeth. So I really do appreciate you coming in and sharing that. My own son had an IEP. He had a severe head trauma. He was out of school for 18 months. So that's really, Elizabeth, when we woke up, we were like, what's going on? Where is the cooperation? Where is the funding? And none of it was happening. And honestly, that's really what kind of jarred us right around when Trump started coming up, and we started looking, and it was there. It was there, and it's so obvious. It's scary. That's how obvious it is in our school system here in New Jersey. Skinny, welcome to the stage, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'd like to wait here for a minute or two while these ladies continue, please.
No problem. And so I want to go to Sapphire. Sapphire, a lot of people wanted to give you some support. I think Advocate came up and gave us some great options to be able to opt out forms in our school systems. And hopefully maybe you can catch up with her class, her space on Wednesday at 9:30, half hour late, 9:30. Sapphire, please.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Also, what's going on in our schools and even the puberty class in grade, because what's happening before they go to fifth grade, they have a puberty class which before just showed you hygiene, things like that. They showed a full human body this time around when my daughter left the fifth grade. She was asked if she wanted to continue being a girl or a boy. So I'm telling you, things are ugly, but you know what? We have to fight as parents. And I made a choice. My 2 daughters are my miracle children. I was told I would never have children again. And yes, they were born with ADD or
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sapphire. Sapphire. Unfortunately, you were in and out a bit, and maybe you could just
ADHD,
tighten
or
up
they got
where you're at, and then you can continue.
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
I can now. I'm sorry, dear. We did have a problem hearing you, though.
Oh, okay. No, I was just going to warn parents and grandparents that the sex ed going on in the classrooms now is not the same sex ed that we took when we took our driver's gen ed, for driver's ed. And we had another 6 months of sex ed. That's not what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with surveys for children. We're dealing with, one of my friends was told that her child was in tears because she had survived a sexual attack when she was young, and she had forgotten for years, and it brought it back. They are trying to target our prepubescent children and up, and we just have to fight with all our might. And I have made the choice. I had 2 miracle daughters that I was told I would never have children again. And God decided that that was not so. And I decided when I was pregnant that I was not going to work a day until my children are out of school and can be fully independent. And I made that choice. And I have had a lot of sacrifices because of being a stay-at-home mom. But I don't have a husband now. Even with my 2 children, he's remarried to somebody else. So I am mom and pop at home. And it's a hard road to hoe, but you know what? God gives us so much that we can handle 10 hats at a time.
Sapphire. I'm going to have to tell you, you've had me welled up so many times when you talked today. There were so many ladies that came in here and have me welled up. I mean, it's to the point where I know these women are out there. Some people don't recognize it. I know it. My sister's one of them. My sister, her husband, he went crazy and he left her, and she had to raise those kids, and she had to build a new life and save enough money to buy a house, live with my parents to do this. And there's a lot of women out there just like you, Sapphire. So thank you for coming up and sharing. I know it was a tough space today, but I want you to know that what I would like to do is maybe what we can do, instead of just signaling on autism on Wednesdays, maybe we can just signal on the kids and how all this comes together. This way, everybody can participate, not just people with autistic kids. So maybe we can concentrate on Wednesdays. Maybe we can set aside some time to do this and to have these testimonies come up, because it's real life, and you people are real people, and it really makes it great. Larissa.
I'm just having a really hard time on Twitter today. Anyways, advocate, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but if we use the term unschool instead of homeschool, unschooling the parents may not be beholden to teach the curriculum in that public ed system that they're, or are they allowed to teach their own curriculum? Thank you, advocate.
So, homeschooling it depends on by the state. I don't think the wording necessarily determines how they handle it. I think it's more of your state and what their policies and laws are. I have seen families using that term when they've written letters, when they write the letter to the district saying, like, I'm pulling my kid out, this is what I'm going to do. And they've never had an issue with it, but they also did have to, unfortunately, comply with certain things. But then I've seen families that have given the big middle finger up and said, no, here's the curriculum I'm using. This is what needs to be taught in schools. My kids don't need any of this other, bull. And some states have given big kickbacks and some haven't, but I don't think what we call it right now matters to them. We can look into that more and maybe try it. I know MAGA Mission and Susie, I don't know if Susie's still in here. They do a homeschooling 101 space on Monday nights, 8:30 MAGA, maybe. I made up that time, I think 8 or 8:30. That'd be great to bring that up at next Monday's space, because I think let's start using different words, change the verbiage, change the meaning like they do, get ahead of it. But I will look into that.
Yeah, because if they unschool, they don't have to report to the school. Like they don't have to show them their tests and everything like that. But yes,
Yeah,
do that.
yeah, we do talk about the theory of unschooling that was brought up this last homeschooling 101. So we do have recordings of those spaces too. I'm trying to compile the library on that, but if you go to the MAGA Mission site, we do have some of the premises of how to homeschool and the steps laid out, how to find the laws per your state, the Department of Education, umbrella schools. I mean, this path is a long one. We're going to be adding more and more data to that part of the site, but we even including we need to go down the special needs. That's another aspect. So Advocate is going to be teaching me a lot. I hope to learn as much as I can from spending time with her and really letting her and people like Susie teach me, because this is something new for me, so I think it's new for everybody. And if you're going down this journey as a parent, it's going to be new for you, so we're trying to lay out the steps. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get through to the other side. All right. Cool.
Thanks, Naga. Now I went through the public ed with my child. Like I say, I did the Common Core and taught him civil disobedience in 3rd grade. He was one of the children who didn't do any of the testing grades, even through his graduation. He didn't take any testing or stuff like that because I wasn't for it. It just didn't happen. And but I'm also learning with this new agenda. It's all trauma-based education. It started with competency-based education back in the 2000s. So I may have some stuff to offer. And our signature was "We are an army," and that woke up a lot of fuzzy people saying those words.
Thank you, Larissa. Skinny, I'm going to go to Mama Bear and then you, okay?
Thank you. I'm going to make it quick. I know you got to close the space soon, but I just want to tell all the women who spoke that I'm very grateful, and I relate with a lot of you. Advocate knows that, and Advocate, I'm super looking forward to the space tonight, and I can't wait for that, to support it and try to help there. And I've been thinking about things because maybe we could do something with some of the people in our space. Like we can start like a private online homeschool co-op where we meet like once a week with the kids or something like that. That would be pretty cool. And have like parent meeting, so that was just an idea. And yeah, let's fight for our kids, and it doesn't have to be, I just volunteer at the school right now, but she's going back to homeschool. But there's so much to learn from one another, and I really appreciate these spaces, you guys. Thank you.
Well, Mama Bear, thanks for coming up. One more, Skinny. You got Elizabeth. Elizabeth and then Skinny. I won't pass you up.
I just wanted one more comment. One of the things in California here that we're dealing with is exercise for our children, even children with special needs. Now that my son's homeschooled, he's basically on the computer 24/7. What I had to do is think outside the box. My son does have one of those virtual reality things that he has exercise programs on it. There's a lady here in close to where I live that's opening up it's called a Nano Center. It's a VR center, but she wants to start it off as just gaming, but she's wanting to add homeschooling to it. Now, this lady's very smart and she understands the school system. That's why her children are also homeschooled. That's the biggest problem also, is socializing. Unfortunately, where I live, there's a lot of marijuana dispensaries. I can't even have my son go to the park and play anymore because there's adults there that will smoke. And my son's severely asthmatic along with being autistic. So there's the ups and downs with homeschooling. I never thought I'd be a mother to homeschool because I always believed in the school system and that the child need to have social skills with other children. That's where it's actually downfalling for my son, is his social skills. Because I can get him to, church activities with children, but that's not an everyday thing. He's now forming social skills online. He's having friends online, and that's also a danger zone. I'm constantly looking and asking, who you talking to? Who you chatting with? Making them, I have to hear the child's voice that my son's chatting with before he can even have conversations. So these are also the downfalls too. So I just want to make, like I said, I wish I didn't have to homeschool my child. This has been forced onto me. I had no choice. My son's well-being was at stake because of it. But my son's not going to be able to do the things that other kids at school do, like go to dances, play sports. They have some activities, but because of my severity of my son's asthma, he can't do a lot of those things. So there's the reality also of homeschooling that parents do need to be made aware of. I wish there were more group activities for children with homeschooling. It's just not in our location. I yield.
Go ahead, Skinny. I guess Marlon's a little indisposed.
Roger that. I got to get to work myself. I've been awkwardly silent today, and I've been listening the whole time here. So Advocate, Carmen, Sapphire, Jacqueline, but more importantly, Jamie. Constitution was in here for a minute. I wish he was here. Here you go. So live your life like that. The fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion. Respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long in its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger, especially when in a lonely place. Show respect to all and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise into fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over and over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. The words of Chief Tecumseh. I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody. Uh, I got to say that I am definitely in that lonely place right now. I have been for some time. Getting sober was so easy compared to some of the things I've gone through in my life. And I'd just like to say that I love you all. And with that being said, let's fucking go, man. Let's fucking go already. Fuck, man. I love you guys. Have a great day.
Skinny, love you too. That was great, man. And I don't even mind the cursing on that one, buddy. I can't tell you how many times I've been welled up. Feed me, please.
Hey, Elizabeth, have you considered 4-H? I don't know. I've had friends that my kids went to Christian school, so we private schooled them. But I have friends that actually sent their kids to homeschooled, and then they used 4-H and then some YMCA programs for like sports and that kind of thing. Just throwing those things out there as options. You may have already thought about those.
I did have my son in 4-H when I lived up by the mountains. Unfortunately, I had to divorce. I'm now a single mother again. I work, but I do both at some point. But there are no 4-H facilities around here. And with the gas prices as they are in California, you can't do a lot of driving. That's the reality of this is what I mean. Sometimes you feel like you are trapped financially, with the community, the environment you're around. Sometimes you have no choice but to live at a certain location if you can't find any place else. That's what I mean. I live in an area, it's a beautiful area. Shasta Lake's beautiful. But we have 3 marijuana stills around here. We have a big homeless and a drug problem here. And so children, when they go outside to play, it's difficult for them. Parents are constantly have to be with them. There was a time when kids used to go out and play and they didn't have this stuff around them. They didn't have to worry about it. I didn't worry about pot when I was a kid. I didn't even know what the stuff was. Nowadays, you go outside here, you smell it everywhere. I ain't, judging anybody, to each its own. But when you have to smell the stuff and your children have to be around it, take some accountability. Don't do it around the kids. It's out there, it's open. I know it's legal here in California, but show some common courtesy. Don't do it around the children. But yeah, I have 4-H. Last year I got to send my son to Bible camp. Unfortunately, it was a little difficult with his asthma, but it's getting groups, children into groups, like you suggested 4-H, that they can have social communities. That's why I thought of this nano, because here we'd have children locally that we know and we can see that my son's having communications with, just because he can't be there socially in groups, one-on-one. This may be, I'm just trying to find anything right now. So any suggestions would be welcome. Thank you.
Well, Mama Bear.
Yeah, I have a suggestion. You could start like a local homeschool co-op. We did that, and it's, even though we're not in it right now, we'll be in it again, but it's just basically parents meeting together, and you do like an art project or a nature walk or something like that, and just kind of reach out in your neighborhood, however you can. Like, I guess they have like the Facebook groups, or what was that one, like a neighborhood group app or whatever. And there could be other parents near you that are going through the same stuff and don't know. And it's nothing formal. You just say, hey, any other moms with kids your parents, the kids this age to this age want to meet and have like a homeschool co-op.
Thank you. That is a good idea. I may consider that today, actually.
Mama Bear, you bring that up, and we've discussed that in Susie's space about having parents combine together, and maybe they would go and hire a particular teacher to come in and actually physically teach the children, not an online thing. This would be something that they would interact. Maybe, this person's house for a week, that person's house for a week, spread the responsibility out. I mean, there are lots of opportunities. And I do have to say, this has been an outstanding space. I have been welled up so many times. I've learned so much. I've gotten to know people. Bumble said, humanity, and I believe humanity is taking over. So I want to go to our last speaker, Goats. Goats, how you doing? I feel like Skinny is picking up the flag, and we have to go with him.
Thank you, Marlon. Yes, Skinny. I feel you, brother. I love you. To the homeschooling real quick. My daughter homeschooled since second grade. We were able to find a group in the area. It was probably a 50-mile area. We had choir that she was involved in. There was a couple other things. I was able to, with some of the stuff I enjoyed doing, we did a mud run, Rugged Maniac, and we were able to incorporate the training and the gym time and stuff to get ready for that into her homeschooling for, PE credits and health credits, stuff like that. So we were able to, that was real cool for me because, just to be involved in that schooling like that. And it was something I enjoyed and we did it. So I think homeschooling is a great subject. I'm glad you all talked about this. And, just one other thing that, I've kind of been saying this, I don't know, is like a little bit of a tagline or something. And it's just every time I say it, it just it hits me a little harder, Whatever you all are going through, all of us have our things. Skinny, I feel you, man. But, as humans, we are built for this. We are built to overcome adversity. We thrive in it, as a matter of fact. We thrive in overcoming. So whatever y'all are going through, man, just have faith in that when we overcome, the feeling is so great. And this is our moment. We're built for this moment right here. So in the words of Skinny, let's fucking go.
Let's go. Goats, thank you, buddy. I just want to turn to Iceman. Would you like to say something before I turn it over to MAGA and we can put a bow on?
Thank you, sir. Thank you all that have come here. Thank you for all the people that have brought their friends, because we see a lot of new faces listening, which I think is great. And God bless you and yours. Have a great day. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning.
Is it all right if I jump in? Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to everybody today. Today was truly, I've been listening the whole time, although I remain silent a lot. I'm working at the moment. So I just want to say, from what I heard, this is a tremendous space. I just can't thank people enough for showing up, and please catch Advocate Space later on. And yeah, we'll see you next time. And this one's going to go in the books, Marlon. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to capture this. We got to capture this moment in time and not let it be erased by Twitter and put it on the site. So we'll be putting this one in the books, and people can share and go back and listen. It's great stuff. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, brother. And remember, we're the show. Their testimonies and how their childhood was. And we talked about donuts, and we talked about veterans, and we talked about Flag Day. We talked about Trump. We talked about kids with autism. We talked about child trafficking. I would kind of like to designate some time, just anything with kids, the way they're being treated in school, whether they're bullied, whether they're on asthma medication, whatever you come up to share could really help somebody else in the community. And that is absolutely why we get up every day. You know, you don't need to hear me talk. It's the community talking. This is America talking, people, right? This is America. So I'm glad to be a part of it, and you guys are making it come. I want to thank everybody for coming. We're on the space every day between 9 and 12. We usually go a little organic. Obviously, you can see that. We will be here tomorrow. You know, we have lots of things in the news. I'm glad we didn't go over the current news out there. I think this was much more impactful, and I want to thank everybody for coming. So maybe we'll see you all tomorrow, 9 a.m. East. And I wanted to say, God bless America and God bless the world. Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Let's go.